Welcome to my channel, GreenLion Goddess Tarot. Today I wanted to talk about a little message that I got in a meditation this morning. The message is actually about this amazing conjunction that's occurring on the 31st of July or the 1st of August, depending on where you are in the world. And this is where the North Node, the point of destiny, fate, what we're moving towards, is conjunct Uranus, the planet of disruption, awakening, activated change, and also conjunct Mars, the planet of action, motivation. It can be the planet of war, anger. So all of these points are conjunct at 18 degrees of Taurus on the 31st of July or the 1st of August, depending on where you are in the world in the sign of Taurus, as mentioned. And Taurus is the earth. It can represent currencies as well, money. So I know a lot's been said around this already, and some of what I'm saying is not necessarily new. Other people have said it, but I just wanted to share what it is that I got, the vision that I got in my meditation this morning about it, and I was told to share it. So this is where I was seeing that there was a whole heap of light codes, light beams coming down onto the earth, this higher vibrational energy. So it's basically, this conjunction is a huge activation point. I mean, this conjunction is a one in a lifetime kind of event, because the last time this exact conjunction occurred was 2,500 years ago. So it's really, really important. And especially for the history of the earth, I get this is an activation point that won't know. It will have far-reaching consequences. We probably won't know the extent of what happens and the point of this until probably the year 3000, which we're not necessarily going to be around for, or at least not in this incarnation. But a whole heap of high vibrational light codes are coming in and sending this activation to the earth at this moment in time. And what it's going to do is, when high vibration meets people who are not ready, or a lower vibrational energy, it creates chaos. Quite literally, people don't know what to do. It can be, this sense of there can be, people can be doing some strange things, but it's also got Uranus in there, the great awakener. So the people who are ready are going to awaken, activate, and step into this. So you're going to see people doing some, major life-changing things. It might not necessarily happen exactly at this time because it's just being activated, but over the next couple of years, you're really going to see this, that people are going to be making huge shifts in their lives. And this is something that you're possibly going to be challenged to do as well. You might be ready to do it. You might be like, boom, I'm ready to go into it. And this may be something that happens to you, not something that's activated inside of you as well. So it's interesting, and the image I was shown was it's going to feel like chaos to humans. It's going to feel like there's this sense leading up to of just unsettling feeling that something's shifting and changing, and you're being challenged into something, but you might not necessarily know what that is. It may feel like a pressure cooker kind of energy, slight anxiety underneath, underlying tension underneath everything, as this pressure cooker builds to this conjunction. So you're probably all feeling it. And I was also shown a wave, like a huge wave. And often when I get waves, it's scary, it's this fearful, huge wave coming. But I wasn't scared of this wave. And what I was getting is that whilst humans, we're going to be seeing as like an ending, or this huge disrupted change, people even might be seeing it as apocalyptic. It's going to be disrupting things like the food chain. Already seeing that as well, but I'm getting a sense that this energy is going right to the core of the earth. This light code is going to the core of the earth. And what it's doing is the earth is going through, like the chooks with the egg, a deep renewal, a deep, deep renewal, a rebalancing, a renewal. The new earth is coming. And so what works for the earth and what works for us, potentially the clashes are going to be, we're going to see those clashes, but we're going to have to adapt. We are going to have to adapt, and potentially through new technologies as well. And so this is where some people are being asked the challenge is to step into this new energy, to be able to move into it. So that is the thing that's happening. And I feel like the earth is increasing in its power. So I'm seeing crops failing in that, the earth is reclaiming something within itself. So if there's been over farming or unsustainable farming, or there might be, I'm seeing things like earthquakes and volcanoes and the huge wave. There could be tsunamis. There could be weather events like big storms. I feel like, we're seeing heat waves and floods and things like this. This is the earth rebalancing itself, deeply renewing itself and shaking some things off. And so it's the challenge for us is to actually step in and go with this change, because the earth, it's a bigger energy than us ultimately. So we may think that we have control, but I think the earth is definitely the one that is going to be, it's a more powerful energy that's coming in. So these high vibrational light codes are basically, it's an energetic upgrade of the earth, and also we're experiencing this as well. So people can react very differently to these energetic upgrades. So it's something you're going to possibly be feeling on a real physical level as well, but it's a sense that just to be open to the change that's being presented in front of you. And it may not be that you know exactly what that is at this moment in time, and that's okay. But you will. There'll be points, activation points, where it will come in and you will see this. So this is the big thing that's coming through. So that's why I wanted to do a series of readings, which is something very new for me, because this is a new deck that I've got, and it's called the Alchemy deck by Krans, who is an amazing artist. She did the Wild Unknown. She did my beautiful these animal spirit energy decks here. And she's put this new deck out, which is all about alchemy. And it's an interesting deck because it takes a while to sit with it. It takes a while to really kind of understand it. And I don't really fully think I do. I'm at the very start of the journey with it, but I've felt compelled to share this with you at this time, because what it does is it opens up doorways. It opens up doorways to new events, new spaces, new alchemical shifts in your life. And it's not necessarily linear. It all happens at different times for different people. And what I like about it is that you are involved with this, with your energy. And so it's something you can sit with for a long time. So I'm going to do readings for the 12 zodiac signs, individual signs, and you can listen to whichever one you feel compelled to listen to, because you might have sun, moon and rising, or Venus, or a north node energy that you feel compelled. And this energy, these readings are activating now. It may be something that you may not see or even understand till way further down the track. It's something you can come back at any time and revisit as well and go, okay, now I feel like listening to my moon sign, or maybe I want to go back and re-listen to that reading and see how that has played out. And I'm also getting a sense that, so it takes you on your own journey. It's like creating magic and alchemy in your life, where you're the one in charge of this, experiencing this, going on this journey. And I feel like it's a very apt thing for the big changes that are coming in and the energetic shifts, raising the consciousness of the earth. So I'd be very curious to know your comments and responses to these readings. And yeah, so that we're going to go into the 12 zodiac signs. And like I said, these readings can last for a very long time. And I do feel like I'm going to potentially come back and do another series further down the track. So yeah, interesting. So that's it. That's the information I got. You can take it or leave it, but that's the information I was getting. And I do think this is an extraordinary time for us to be on the earth, to be incarnated at this moment in time. And there's a big opportunity for us to step into this higher consciousness, this activated change that's going on in a bigger picture. And we can take this on personally in our own lives as well. So I'm hoping that these readings are the opening door. It's opening a door to this change or these big shifts that are happening for you. So here they are. Hello, Leo, and welcome to your reading. This is my new deck, and these are your cards. So I've already pulled them because I wanted to sit with them for a while. Like I mentioned, I'm still getting to know this deck, and I might be bouncing back a little bit from the guidebook as well as using my own intuitive messages that are coming through. Quite literally, when I was tuning in, I saw this door opening to chaos, but it's sort of like, chaos rules the universe, which is a sense of being really, really present and in a new space, and a new sense of really knowing yourself is what's coming through with this. So I'm going to bounce back a little bit from the book and my own intuition, just because the book is so eloquent as well. And there's things in there that I'm like, oh, I want them to know this. And yeah, I'm still getting to know. I just really wanted to share this deck with you, and it just felt like the right thing. So the reading we're doing is called Doors of Wisdom. It's a 4-card reading. And this is about, the premise of this is one door opens the next. So it's a journey that we're going on, and it can be really helpful if it's like around necessary steps, one at a time, when you're feeling stuck or you don't know what steps to take, or just the sense you're about to go into the great unknown with this energy that's happening at this moment. So that's why I kind of thought this was a really, the right reading. So the first door, if we go from left to right, the first door is the door of initiation. So I'm just going to read explaining the doors from the book. It says, this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, situation, a memory, or a dream. And so interestingly, if we just look at the cards that you've got tin, iron, silver. All of them are like metallic. It's metals and silvery kind of metallic energies, all with very different qualities. So these are sort of things, they can be reflective, they can not be reflective. Do they need care? There's all sorts of things that are coming in around this, but ultimately there's something solid. And the thing that really struck me with the iron energy, and I know we're not there yet, is that iron is what the Earth's core is made up of. And that's what we were seeing, is that this light beam is coming into the Earth's core. So anyway, we'll start with the first door, the door of initiation. So tin. Tin is one of those metals that you can stretch really far, except it can't. So it's an expansive energy. So it's about what is it that you are trying to expand in your world, but then it doesn't. It gets to this pressure point where it breaks. It can't withstand too much pressure. So it's almost, like listening to those things in your life that are saying what pressure you're under, what can you let go of, how much pressure can you withstand, because it almost feels like you're crumbling to this pressure that's coming in here, and that's the door to step into. So it's almost like a surrender. So you're getting this message to expand, and that message is just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger until you kind of almost succumb to it. So that's the thing with the tin. It's not particularly strong if you're trying to hold on to the space and kind of put yourself everywhere. Maybe you're doing too much. Maybe you're spreading yourself too thin, energy that's coming through. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's a sense of listening to this energy and calling of expansion, but surrendering to it, surrendering to the pressure of where it wants to take you, and it's moving you into the next door. The second door, which we have iron there in the second door, and this is the door of fortune. This is the door you will then be led into, and here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. Now, for some of you, I don't know if, any of you are into blacksmithing or working with iron, but that could be something that's coming through, but it's obviously not going to be for all of you. But iron is where you find your strength. By quite literally, it seems paradoxical. It seems like iron is much stronger. It can withstand a whole heap more pressure than the tin. And it's almost like you have to let go and surrender to this impending pressure, or let go of some things that have been really, just let go of something if it feels like it gets to too higher pressure or pressure point, in order to find your own strength. It's one of those things that there's strength in vulnerability, even though vulnerability doesn't feel like a strong energy. So it's almost like you have to surrender and let go of something to do with the usual way of doing things, let go of your ego, let go of something around that. You're getting a very strong message in order to connect into something that's even stronger. And this is the door of fortune. And I actually liked what it said in the book, so I wanted to read a little bit of what it said about iron. Magnetism, I like that. So I also get this sense that you're kind of finding yourself at a place deep within that is a core part of you that feels like this is like almost like a source energy, And from that point, it's like a magnet. You might be attracting all sorts of new and different things, which is really fantastic. So we've got magnetism, reliability, and it's associated with the planet Mars. So that's interesting because Mars is one of the planets that's involved in this triple conjunction. It's a very fiery energy as well. So, and the reliability is it's a quality of Leo's actually. It is because, we're ruled by the Leo energy is ruled by the sun. We rely on the sun to set and rise and we revolve around it. But, we rely on the sun as our source of energy for our solar system. So it's really, really important. And so it's almost like you come back in and connect to your source and a new source of energy within you that everything can suddenly start revolving around and you can start relying on. So it says, when the Iron card appears, there is a call to rely only on the reliable. What truly supports you? What have you already built? Iron dwells at the center of the earth. So when all else feels lost, go inward. There is a deep magnet there that pulls you towards what is steady and true. For the moment, put your words and weapons down and let yourself be held by the structure that is already in place. So I feel like it's almost like with the tin energy in door 1, it's like these are parts of you that have been stretched thin because they're no longer an authentic version of you, or they're a surface part of you. So it's a deepening that's coming in here as well. So if we look at door 3, we have silver, and this is the door of resistance, okay? It says this is the new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. So it's a little bit of a different way of reading and working with this energy, this reading. And so we have silver. And silver is interesting. I actually wanted to read what silver says because I find it really fascinating and I think it's really great. So it's lunar. So it is connected to the moon, reflective and chrome. So it says silver shines eternally in second position. It is the lesser sibling, the one that's not quite there yet. A true alchemist, and we're all alchemists in this book, does not resist this truth, but rather studies its subtle implications and its wisdom. Silver requires polishing, or the surface tarnishes over time. Mirrors require cleaning or the image clouds and distorts, whereas gold sustains its own malleable radiance. Silver asks for our participation. We must work at it. Don't give up now. Silver wants to build relationships, like the moon, a mirror or a poem. Let it reflect an image back. With an open heart and one more moment of willingness, the seemingly cold, stark surface of silver opens into the imaginal realm. What is there? Your own vastness, the mysteries that beckon you on moonlit nights. Through our daily devotion to silver, we find the truest gold. And I find that it's really amazing. That's why I wanted to read from the book. It really is very poignant. And I kind of get with that, it's those parts of you where you've, come up. It may be a lot to do with relationships with your family dynamics, where it might be that one sibling is kind of doing better than the other, or there's a power dynamic or something that's going on here. So there may be some things like that you are letting go of, but it might also be this sense of being second best with something. And where is it what is calling you to polish and add a little bit of extra effort and dedication so that it can support you and so that you can move forward and it can become the gold. So interesting energy to come through with that silver coming in as the door of resistance. And what is being reflected back to you, the moon does represent your intuition as well. So it's about trusting that and seeing what's being reflected back and illuminated in the darkness from your intuition. So the last door is the door of destination. Now, don't freak out because it says chaos, okay? Because it will make sense. And this is what the book says about the door of destination. It says, this is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually, as you take the steps towards it more, it will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. And so chaos what I get is that whole chaos theory is that the universe is made up of chaos, and within chaos there is order. But I kind of get this sense of, through going through this alchemical shift, you find yourself in this very new space or new sense of identity that feels a little bit like chaos at first, because it's finding the new order within and making sense of something that is a new structure that you are bringing into your life. So I'm going to read, and like I said, it takes a while to come to the destination point and then go, okay, this makes sense. And it may be that the doors that you're walking through at this moment in time do end up in chaos, but chaos is not necessarily a bad thing. So we've got, let me see, where do I want to read from? This card, this state is so powerful and all-encompassing that it typically overwhelms the student to the point of despair. Such is the nature of chaos. It is the grand trickster, the topsy-turvy confusion that turns life on its head and spins a web not even the wisest mystic can untangle. Baffling? Yes. Disorientating? Yes. But the seasoned alchemist recognizes it as the most potent point in the alchemical experiment. Wait, observe, do nothing. It is destiny itself that spins the web. Clarity will emerge one strand at a time. Your only task is to breathe. Do not struggle. The three fates hold you in their sights as you free fall towards freedom. So again, it's this sense of these huge paradoxes that are coming in. And that's what I love about this deck, is it's kind of taking to a place that there may be resistance about going there. But, you know, when you find the gold and you connect into the energy, it makes sense. It will make sense further down the track. So the other thing with chaos is that meditation is a really great thing to do with chaos, to clear the space, clear your head for things finally coming together and making sense. And in a way, it's freeing yourself of limitations, past limitations, by untangling and detangling and letting go of that structure that felt like a huge pressure point we see in the tin energy, and going through this process, ending up in this space where it's like, okay, this is all a new structure that doesn't make any sense. But finally, there's this bigger picture of overcoming limitations, or even limited ways of thinking, or even limitations within who you see or how you see yourself. And yeah, I feel like it's this sense of freedom of being able to move beyond an old structure that could no longer withhold. It's no longer strong enough to withhold the pressure of what's coming in with this new energy. So that's your message, Leo. Sit with it. You might want to come back to this later, further down the track, and I will do follow-up readings. But that is the reading for you, Leo. So yeah, please take care. And it's one of those things that it starts to make sense along the journey. It's not necessarily a linear journey. I mean, it is. It's going through the doors, but they could all happen at different times. They can sometimes overlap. Sometimes you go back through another door. Sometimes one's a bigger door. It just, it's about being open to the journey. So I kind of get this sense that this is what I've been getting for you all along in terms of a lot of your readings of late, Leo, is that this is the new you, but it's happening in terms of this alchemical shift, and happening in a way that it's going to take us a while to really understand what this is and how it happened and who we now are. So that's it, Leo. Thanks so much. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on the new cards and this particular reading. So please subscribe, leave a comment, and take care. Hello, Aries, and welcome to your reading. Okay, so these are your 4 cards. I've already pulled them out because I needed to sit with them. As I mentioned, I'm very excited to share this new deck with you, but I'm still getting to know it. So I'm going to bounce back and forth from the book because there's some really great stuff in the book and my little intuitive insights and messages that are coming through. So think of this reading as kind of like a bigger energy reading in terms of some alchemical shifts that are occurring in your life. You can apply it. This particular reading is a 4-card reading. It's called The Doors of Wisdom. And the premise of it is that one door opens the next. So we're moving from reading from left to right. The first left-hand card is the door 1, and the last one over here on the right is door 4. And it's something you can use as well if you're stuck or you're looking for the path to take. But I'm kind of seeing it more as like, you know, this bigger shift and change that's happening to us energetically. And it can be really subtle, but it's like a bigger energy. So this reading is called The Doors of Wisdom, as I mentioned. So card 1, which is called Conjunction, is the door of initiation. So this is, I'm going to read this from the book. This is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So this is the first door to step through. And luckily, conjunction is a really beautiful energy. It's about the coming together, the union. It can represent love. So, and the sense of two things coming together and forming a third, forming something else. And it kind of is that alchemical shift that occurs here. So it's a really beautiful energy conjunction, and it may be aligning yourself with something, coming alongside someone or something. So the conjunction energy is like being next to, joined in energy. So this is the door of initiation. And I'm just going to have a look and see. There were some nice things that it said. I think it's the very last card, actually. It says, love, divine union, and infinity. Conjunction is the great alchemical operation of love. During this stage, we witness the miraculous work of two opposites merging to create a unique third form. Sun and moon unite to reveal the entire cosmos. Black and white unite to reveal the spectrum of colour. Conjunction represents a conscious and benevolent union, one that springs forth from awareness, acceptance, and devotion. It is not a compromise, but rather an activation. That's an interesting point because we are talking about an activation energy here. A holding of tension and presence that allows each of the entities to thrive, I love that, and express themselves. Beautiful. Experiencing conjunction is one of the blessings of the human experience, whether the bond is with human, nature, or divinity. So it doesn't have to be somebody else. It might just be something that you're feeling really drawn to. It doesn't have, and it can also be, like I said, the connection to the divine. Recognize it by the stirring of your heart and an element of surprise. Through the opposites arises the infinite. So that's, I think, just be really aware in this door of initiation, what you're stepping into, the first door, of what you are connecting with here. And the sense that it's a blessing. It's something that is allowing you to expand. Something in your world is allowing to expand and grow into something new. And this is for the benefit of both you and the other thing that you are connecting to, which is really lovely. So the second door is the door of fortune. We like this. This is the door you will then be led into. So this is the sparks of light. It sounds so beautiful. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. Really lovely with the sparks of light energy. And I want to actually read you what the sparks of light, because I remember thinking that was a really beautiful one and I want to read it for you. I can just find it. Hope, sensation, exhilaration. Says, the sparks of light card arrives just in the nick of time, leaving a trail of celestial light to guide the way. Beautiful. Follow these flickers as if they are alchemical clues guiding you to an illumined state. When this card appears, it's likely there has been a lull or a void of direction. Some may even say the lights have been turned off. But in the deep void of darkness, a messenger of hope arrives, flickering and shimmering with enthusiasm. You might feel the sparks of light as a childlike giddiness, the presence of magic, a vision in a dream, or a simple readiness to wake up from a long slumber. I love that because of the sense that there's a part of you awakening at this moment in time. Uranus is the great awakener, so a part of you is waking up from a long slumber. And I love how it's coming in these trickles of light, sparkles of light. So it's like you walk through the first door, you have this conjunction, this joining together of this other energy that allows you both to expand into something new, then follow the light, those sparks of light. And yeah, it's like the star card. It's like a divine North Star that's guiding you and brings hope, guiding you into the future. But it's this sense of magic, a beautiful energy that's coming through. So it says, Childlike giddiness, the presence of magic, a vision in a dream, or a simple readiness to wake up from a long slumber. And yeah, Uranus is the planet of awakening. So Uranus is one of the major energies in this, this conjunction that's coming in. Follow the physical body, follow the tingling sensations of aliveness within, and you will not be led astray. I like that, how it's like connecting into your body. Feel those, you know, you can have a real body response when you get a sense of something and you're like, this is what I'm being drawn towards, and your body will respond. Vitality, clarity, and inspiration are within your reach. You are alive. You are a vital being. Appreciate this moment. One spark leads to the next. Beautiful. I love that. I really love that. That's a great one to have. So the third door, which we have, is Quicksilver, and this is the door of resistance, okay? So it says this is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. Okay, so Quicksilver. Quicksilver is like a slippery energy. It's an in-between energy. It's a limbo energy. It's where something, you're not sure, something turns. It's that sense of when something is, there's a alchemical shift, you know, you're changing, you've joined together with a conjunctio, something shifting and changing form, you're guided by these sparks of light. And then it's a sense that you're in this kind of void space if you don't know where it is. It might be a limbo energy for a little while with Quicksilver, and that can feel disorientating or a bit weird. So I'm going to find it in the book if I can get it. I did put little, let's see if I can get to it. I've got little tabs here. It says slippery mobile Mercury. And interestingly, yeah, Mercury, it's like you can't hold it. Part liquid and part metal, Quicksilver is a mesmerizing material. It's a gift. Its gift is to slip between worlds. It cannot be pinned down or easily defined. So that in itself is like you're stepping into something and then it's like, I don't know what this is or who we are or what we're creating here or where this is all going. So it's almost like you need to really go into that slippery world of the unknown. It says, Mercury came to symbolize the god Hermes in the Greek myths and the great hermetic secrets of alchemy, always sliding into secrecy just beyond the alchemist's grasp. So interesting. It is said Mercury represents the transition between the physical and the unseen worlds, between life and death, between science and the esoteric. It's the metal of sacred thresholds. Shamanic practitioners of every tradition must acquire the ability to stand at the doorway between worlds. This is no small feat. The Mercury card indicates the querent has a particular gift for such a task. So, yeah, I mean, some of you, like that shamanic energy, you might actually be really intuitive and have that. They go down the esoteric arts as well. Maybe you're healers. There could be all sorts of things coming in, but it's just going into that space that's really, really hard to define. So that's where you might find a little bit of resistance, of just feeling like there's a lack of form or a lack of definition for a while. That could be something that's coming through in terms of resistance. But we have, in terms of the last door, the door of destination, door 4, we have the, and I can never say this one, the androgyne. Someone might be able to say that better than me. But it's basically about androgyny, but it's the card of the artist. It's a really, you are weaving this beautiful web here where you're blending the divine masculine and the divine feminine and creating this kind of non-binary form that doesn't need to be defined. And that's the interesting thing here. You go through this sense of following the light, going into this place that's hard to define, and then, yeah, working within that to create something that has balance, which is really lovely. So what it says about the door of destination here, this is just the placement of this card. It says, this is a vision of the future possibility, but it may be hard to relate to this card now. But eventually, as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. So I do feel like this is a deep creation. a deep creativity. So it's really beautiful. I'll just have a look and see if there's anything here about it that we wanted to share. Creative transcendence is what it says. Multiplicity and the artist. Beautiful. It's the balanced union of the divine masculine, the sun, and the divine feminine, the moon. It encompasses the infinite spectrum and reveals itself in ever-changing non-binary forms. It defies definition as it is deeply personal, and it's a deeply personal felt experience. It's accessing this fluid and enlightened state requires us to slip into the contradictory realm of the senses. Breath by breath, we are drawn into our limbs, our fluids, organs and cells. We let go of rules and labels. Judgment is suspended. The gods are present as we are the creative mysteries of the underworld. For a brief moment, we hold all of our complexities in one loving form. Like a newborn, we know not our name, gender, age, or location. We are the embodied artist, embraced unconditionally by sun and moon. So, yeah, it's for those of you who are creative, it's this sense of arriving at a place that you potentially is you probably can't imagine right now in terms of your creativity. But I get it, also this is to do with your sense of who you are in the world. So it's almost, it's a really fascinating process that's coming through, but a deep sense of creating something new in your life. And that will take form further down the track. And that will take shape and make more sense further down the track. So, and it's something that, like I said, defies definition. So it's almost like you have to go through that path of resistance where you want to kind of label it and let go of labels and form until it kind of lands and creates itself. So whatever it is in your life, whether this is like a higher energy that you're working with, whether this is something physical that you're working with, because I find sometimes these cards are really literal and sometimes they're actually just very abstract, metaphorical. So it's interesting we start with the conjunction Aries because that is really the big thing that we're talking about here, this triple conjunction. So that's the starting point. So that's your reading, Aries. Thanks so much for joining me. I'd be curious to know how you're experiencing these cards. So please leave a comment and please like, subscribe, share, leave a message or and subscribe, sorry, is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, make sure you listen to your sun, moon and rising sign to get a kind of fuller picture of what's going on for you. Okay, Sagittarius. So welcome to your reading. So these are the new cards. These are the 4 cards I have picked for you. I picked them earlier because I wanted to sit with them. As I mentioned, this is a really new deck for me. I'm still getting to know it and I'm just really excited to share it with you. So I'm going to bounce back a little bit from the guidebook and my intuition just because there's some really great things in here and I just want to share it with you. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. And today we're going to do a reading called The Doors of Wisdom, where the premise of this is one door opens the next. And I'd like to think of this reading as a sense that we're moving into this huge conjunction. It's a huge awakening. So I feel like it's a bigger energy. It's something that's happening on a different level, a higher level. But you can apply it to areas, more specific areas of your life where you're feeling a little bit stuck or where you feel like you don't know where you're going, the direction in which you're heading. So you can apply it to that as well. So this is the deck, the alchemy deck. So this reading has 4 doors. It's called a 4-card reading and it says it will not work unless you trust your intuition. Okay. So door 1 is the door of initiation. It says this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So we've got here copper, and the interesting thing about copper is it's actually this beautiful, shiny energy. It's shiny. It needs to be polished. If it's not polished or looked after or exposed to too many elements, it goes green. It gets tarnished. So it's kind of interesting. And copper, I'm going to read a little bit from the book, but I'm getting for some of you, even islands could be something that's coming in here, but it's all about eros, sensuality, connecting to your body. It's an awakening of the heart is what copper is here. So it's a beautiful energy to come through. So I'm going to find it. It says, oh yes, I love this as well. Fertility, the womb, Venus. So, you know, Venus is the planet of love, sensuality, money as well. So this is for some of you, this is like the fertile space of a womb-like space of a seed is being conceived here, ready to grow. So there's something beautiful that is birthing in your world. But what that is and what shape and what it looks like and what shape it takes form, we don't know yet. For some of you with this and the moon as the destination, this could be quite literally a pregnancy. I mean, the moon rules cycles. The moon can rule pregnancies as well. So it is a very, you know, it's laden with all this wonderful sense of something beautiful is birthing here. Sorry that the reading got interrupted briefly because I had a fridge arrive, a newer fridge arrive. And do you know what? It's been 4 months since I have had a fridge. It's been a 4-month debacle of getting the old fridge repaired. Eventually, the company said, we'll just give you a new fridge. Been living off this old bar fridge for 4 months. And so, you know, I always read what happens in the readings, like things externally, not just what's happening in the cards. And so I kind of was getting, this is where something long awaited might arrive, quite literally. And this is the sort of thing that maybe you've been able to live without it, or you've compromised or lived with like a smaller version of it or an alternative version. But there's something, the real thing is turning up, the thing that you actually really need. So that's fantastic. So copper, let's go back to copper. Fertility of the womb, Venus. So it says, this golden-hued metal elicits delight and mystique, even a sense of awe. The copper card marks the arrival of Eros into the laboratory. When they say laboratory, they're just it's all about alchemy, this book. So it's all about just the work that we're doing in general as alchemists. We're all alchemists. It says, it's likely the alchemist has been hard at work for too long, prioritizing scholarly pursuits over sensual pleasure. And I get this actually, Saggy, because I'm a Sagittarius ascendant as well. It's this sense of, it's about shifting some priorities. Maybe you've been working too hard at something and it's time something that's more enjoyable and pleasurable and you know, is calling you, is something really important that's wanting to make space in your life at this moment in time. So this is again the first door that we're walking through. Get ready for a shift of priorities, for an awakening of the heart, beautiful, and the life-generating centers of the body. In the true alchemical experiment, nothing is excluded or separate from the work. Bring sensuality into the fold and embrace it with reverence and curiosity. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, smiles upon you. So it's kind of saying those things that sometimes we don't think is relevant or don't value. It's like there's work and then there's play. They're saying see it as a whole. See it from this holistic point of view that something beautiful is birthing. So listen to those messages of your body. I just got something here where we were saying life-generating centers of the body. I got as well that for some of you this is around your health. So I was just got this sense of activation, like meridian points being activated and cleared within your body. So that's something that's coming through with that. So let's look at the second door, okay? So it kind of feels like the first door might be where there's a sense here. You're walking through that door that this could be quite literally a delivery. You know, we're talking about the womb. And, you know, when you get pregnant, there's this idea that a baby gets delivered at the end. There is delivery of some sort. So you kind of go in knowing that there is potentially a destination point. The interesting thing about these readings is it's the destination point might not necessarily be what you're expecting, but it might be what you really need and have needed for a long time. So that's the interesting thing. So the second door, which is autumn, we have the door of fortune. This is the door you will then be led into after the first door. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So we have autumn, which is really lovely. And we can see actually that there's the sign of Leo on this card. It reminds me of Leo a little bit. It's not actually Leo, but it's got a very Leo-ish energy to it. So let's have a look at it. If I can find it, autumn. It says, so this is the fortune. It says the culmination, the broad view, generosity. It says Autumn is the denouement of Earth's grand narrative. It is the symbol of culmination, harvesting, and resolution. So this is the card of harvest, which is really fantastic. The story of our year finds closure, and we begin to look towards the horizons of the next one. So it's a completion. It's likely this card will appear as an indicator of efforts culminating, of hard work paying off, of fruit hanging low for the taking. Gratitude and generosity are the spirit of the season, so share the wealth of your fortune. Looking back, you realise many hands and hearts have helped you along the way. Holding tight to your bounty won't do you any good. The alchemist shares their wisdom and wealth. They offer their boons back to the world as part of the ongoing cycle. Be like an autumnal tree, come to fruition and then release. And it's so beautiful, that idea of the leaves fall to the ground. They create this beautiful, what's the word? Humus. I can't think of the word. They fall to the ground, they regenerate, they make the soil fertile again. So it's this process of culmination and then starting something new, which is really beautiful. So, and being really generous as well, which is a lovely energy. So the third door is this thing called Virgin's Milk, which always, it's strange, it always is slightly unsettling when you get Virgin's Milk. But it's actually a good energy, I would say. But I can see why this is the door of resistance, Virgin's Milk, door number 3. It says, this is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is the door 3. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires, which is the fertile space that you're stepping into. So Virgin's Milk is interesting because I get, for a lot of you, Sagittarius, this is where you're going in you're going in as the student, you're going in where you are not feeling you might not feel particularly confident, you might feel very inexperienced with an energy. So it might be hard to show your vulnerabilities and your, show where you're at. You might not, it's about letting go of the role of the expert as well. So it's innocence, naivety and purity is Virgin's Milk. So this is the resistance energy. And it says, it points to a lack of awareness or experience. Okay. This milky substance is a symbol of purity and innocence, but its shadowed side is naivety and even denial. When the Virgin's Milk appears, discernment and honesty must be applied to the work. Is something being glossed over, rushed, or presented as perfect? So you can look at perfectionism, or where we kind of pretend to be, better than we are, or whatever masks we might put onto the world. These are the sort of things. These are likely complexities that need to be addressed so that the alchemist can gain the maturity to handle what's next. So the lack of awareness or experience that the alchemist would rather not reveal. So it's, where we kind of have to step into our courage and brave face and I can do this, but there may be a sense of questioning, can you do this? And maybe not wanting to show people your vulnerability or opening up to that. So it's interesting. That is very much, it reminds me a lot of the innocence of the inner child, like stepping into the unknown naively and being quite innocent about something. But it's also, like I said, that underneath energy of what is there denial happening here. But I feel like it's like the child energy, the Virgin's Milk. It's all this very, like I said, all these symbology around fertility and birth, and this is like naively stepping into something. So, interesting. We have, so there might be a little bit of resistance around that, or, doing something where you're in a very different role, where you're in a very different power dynamic even. There are things that are coming in, or maybe you just like to know knowledge, you like to know something, you like to be able to know exactly where this is going, and to go in with this sense of naivety can be scary as well. So that's something that can come through with that. So the fourth door, the door of destination, this is the vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card, but eventually as you take the steps toward it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. And I love how it's like, this is the moon. the elusivity of the moon, this silvery, shiny thing that it's hard to kind of pinpoint what it is. It represents your intuition, represents the cycles. There's all these energies of culmination of cycles. We're seeing a full moon here. So it's all these, like I said, something beautiful is birthing in your life at this moment in time. So let's go and see what it says about the moon: mystery, receptivity, and intuition. The moon represents the mother of all mysteries. Once a month, it slips into the full spotlight and then quietly disappears, only to initiate the cycle again, gifting us with the message of impermanence. The moon reminds us we are in constant transition, a continual process of letting go. It is the yin principle, one of listening rather than speaking. This card may indicate a time of rest and restoration in order. I love that. So it's like you've reached this culmination point, and then it's like resting, restoring, letting it go. And it's very connected to that autumn energy of the leaves falling off and letting something go so that you're ready to start something new, and you're making space for this new energy to come through, which is really lovely. Or that a new depth. So this card may indicate a time of rest and restoration is in order, or that a new depth or spiritual practice calls. Beautiful. Dreams and memories may be especially vivid. The gates to the liminal realm have opened. The alchemist's task is to be receptive to its message. Be patient, though, as the moon speaks in the language of symbols, and deciphering its messages takes time and receptivity. Magic is afoot. Sink into it. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because they're saying this final, what is birthing, it's this culmination energy, and the lunar energy there's a mystery around it. It really is very beautiful. So it's this thing of trusting this process and just seeing what unfolds, what gets revealed and shown to you in this very intuitive way, which is very beautiful. So I like how they say the last door might not make sense yet, because it's the process. It really is around not necessarily a linear journey, although it is kind of a linear journey, but it may happen in different ways. So it's a very beautiful, I think something very beautiful, mysterious, intriguing, different to perhaps what you're expecting it to be, is birthing here through this process. And it is, I think it's a really lovely journey to go on, Sagittarius. So that is your reading. That is your reading here. So very much a lot of divine feminine energy associated with this, and a lot of sense of, the natural transitions, that this is one big cycle, but when you reach the culmination of this one, it's time to let that go and move into the next. So beautiful, Sagittarius. So I'd be curious to know how you experience the cards and the reading. So please leave a comment. Make sure you listen to your sun, moon and rising to get the full picture of what's going on for you. And please like, subscribe, share and leave a comment. So take care. Hello, Aquarius, and welcome to your reading. So these are your 4 cards. This is the new deck that I have. It's very, very beautiful. I love to share it with you today. As I mentioned, it's all very new for me as well, so I'm just learning and exploring what this is all about. So today I'm going to work a little bit off the guidebook, and I'm going to bounce back from that and my own intuition, because there's some great things in this guidebook that just really explain it. And so how I'd like you to see this reading is that it's a journey about, and see it as the bigger energetic shift that's occurring. It's an alchemical shift where something's changing form from one thing into another. Doesn't necessarily have to have any expectation or linear energy to it, but it is around, I find sometimes these readings make sense further down the track, and they're really great to sit with. So you might actually have something specific you want to apply this to in your life, but I kind of feel like this is more of a bigger picture energy in terms of the shift that's going on for you. So initially what I get for your reading, I'm just getting a few little intuitive messages, and I'll explain what this reading is I'm getting this sense of deep creativity, going very deep into the creation of something, into the work of what it is. Now, if you're not creative, it just is you are going deep into something you are creating in this world. That doesn't have to be like art or writing or music or whatever creative thing that you're doing, but it's a deep questioning of it, of really trusting yourself, the journey that you're on, and not listening to what other people are saying. Not necessarily not listening, but believe, that's probably the wrong way to say it, but it's more about a deep sense of belief in yourself in the face of questioning, other people questioning the validity or the reality of what it is that you're working with here. So the reading I'm doing today is called The Doors of Wisdom. So it's a 4-card reading, as you can see. And this is the concept of this is one door opens the next. So we're moving from left to right. The left door is door 1, which is Venus, and the right door is door 4, which is rotation. So, and this is kind of where it says, it's a great reading for, like I said, you're going on this big energetic journey, but also if you're feeling stuck or you don't know where you're going, this is also a really good journey reading for that as well. But I just feel like on a higher level, this is poignant. It says it will not work unless you trust your intuition. So that's actually a big thing I see coming through for you, Aquarius. So the first door is the door of initiation, and it says this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. And you have the beautiful Venus, the planet Venus, as your first card. And Venus, as you know, rules Libra, it rules Taurus. So this triple conjunction is actually happening in the sign of Taurus. It rules sensuality, your connection to your body. It rules your connection to the earth. It rules love and money. So it's a very, very beautiful energy to come in, stepping into this Venus energy. And I want to read what it says in the book around it. It says, pleasure, eros, beauty. With the arrival of Venus, the senses open as if for the first time. It is the planet of pleasure, of touch, of sensual delights. So I kind of get, that's actually really, really important to trust this sensual energy as to what you're stepping into at this moment in time. So what it is that you're creating, I really think it's something that you need to love, or that you do love, but you're connecting through it, through the body, or how you might be physically responding, which is really lovely. So it's the planet of pleasure and of touch, of sensual delights. Venus is often depicted as romance or eroticism between people, but it can also be expressed as an all-out love affair with Mother Nature herself. And that's kind of an interesting thing, because we are stepping into the age of Aquarius, which is the new consciousness. So I feel like these light codes that are coming into the earth and going right to the core of the earth is upgrading everybody into this new consciousness. And being Aquarians yourself, you are kind of at the forefront of this around how you're wanting to respond to this new earth energy. So I love this, an all-out love affair with Mother Nature herself. You might actually find yourself, the way that you're responding to the planet, to earth, to nature, to this new consciousness is a shifting and changing energy. And this is the door. It's saying, do you want to step into this door and connect in a new and different way to this energy? So yeah, really beautiful. Aphrodite emerging from the ocean is a classic example of Venus imagery, as is Cupid with his bow. No matter how old or jaded you are, when this card appears, it's a sign that attraction is at an all-time high. So really, it's a door of walking through what is it that's attracting you, or who is it that's attracting you here. It's a light with love. You may be in love with the work. When they say the work, this is kind of like they're talking about the work of the alchemist, and it sees us all as alchemists working this magic in our life. So the work is just quite literally the energy that you're working with, or it could quite literally be, physical work. So these cards you can take literally, but they also can be kind of quite symbolic or metaphorical. So attraction is at an all-time high, and it's a light with love. You may be in love with the work, with the materials, with another person, or with the world itself. Seeing beauty in small moments is a sign Venus is in balance, an obligatory reminder that pleasure and pain are usually found intertwined. Okay, interesting. So it's, what is it that you love? What is it that's drawing you in? What are you attracted to? So that's a beautiful energy for Venus. So the second door is the door of fortune. We have the blue temple. Here is the door you will then be led into. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. Now, the blue temple is really beautiful. This is where it almost takes you into a new realm. It can be connected to higher consciousness, even cosmic connections to other realities, other realms, aliens, all sorts of things. It can be very high esoteric knowledge that comes in with the blue temple. And it's just really trust and honor your experience of what it is that you are getting, how it makes you feel, as opposed to somebody else saying that it's not right or it's not real. So if it feels good for you, and that's why we've got the Venus energy of trust, what feels good, the pleasure energy that's going through, then that's what the right thing is for you. That's where you're finding this fortune. So I'll see what it says with the blue temple. Because, it is just a very different deck. It takes a little while for this to kind of, work. So it says to kind of, the full understanding of it to land is what I'm trying to say. So the blue temple, it says celestial realm, the imagination. Oh, that's the other thing, and expansiveness. So like I said, this could be a beautiful journey into imagination, some sort of creative work. For some of you, this is like a great work that you're making here, like the great novel or whatever it is, but it doesn't have to be that. Not everybody are artists, but what is that thing that's calling you here? And it says, welcome to the Blue Temple, the home of the alchemical imagination. We love it. You've entered a space of new depths, new possibilities. The inner eye opens. Now that's important because of the next card. And you become willing to see in a new way. So the inner eye opens. I love that. What are you seeing? How is this inner eye? What is the inner eye? Like, you might be asking all of these sort of big esoteric type questions. To understand this card, one must study blue itself. It is the celestial color of the sky, the ocean, and the peacock's tail. Though potent, blue slips away. Through this colour, our imagination threads together experiences both grim and glorious. Thinks blue films, blue ribbons, the halls of heaven, and the harrows of melancholy. We are taken into the depths of mood, of tone, of the rhythm of the blues. The eternal mystery of blue will only deepen as we study it. So it's this sense of going really deep into an energy that feels like you're learning so much, but it's just, it's not logical. It's kind of an interesting way to be experiencing it, and it's very, like I said, sensual. And this is precisely the point. So the eternal mystery of blue will only deepen as we study it, and this is precisely the point. Leave the cerebral behind, which is the logical brain. Cloak yourself in the sapphire robe and sit quietly in the vault of mysteries. So beautiful energy to come in, and that's your fortune. And there's, like I said, sometimes it seems like, well, how is that my fortune? But it really starts to make sense further down the track, or it might be making a lot of sense now. So for the third door is the door of resistance. This is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. Now, tin is an interesting metal because it can be stretched to quite far. It can be quite thin, and there's only a certain amount of pressure it can withstand. So I'm going to read you what it says about tin. Malleable, expansive Jupiter. Let me get to the point where I saw. Okay, on one hand, it is tin's Jupiterian nature to expand, to mobilize, to cover the whole territory. On the other hand, the metal cannot withstand much weight or pressure. When this card appears, you may have reached a limit or breaking point after taking on more than is logistically possible under the circumstances. Don't take this juncture personally. More strength is required before taking next steps to support the expansion you see in your mind's eye. Okay, so it's all about what's going on in your mind's eye, this expansion. It may just be this like very, very wide, amazing, can't even explain it, space, what's going on inside your mind's eye. And then the tin energy is almost like, have you taken on too much to process, or are you actually have you taken on too much in terms of what it is that you're working with this? Are you creating something? So It's about just being able to still expand and work with that expansion of your mind's eye, but to also work with the pressure that might come with it as well. And so that's kind of saying, if you have those moments where you feel like something's reached a breaking point, or where you're just like feeling like really overwhelmed or pressured, that's where it's like, take a break, connect back into your inner resilience, your inner strength, however that applies. But it's kind of not the reason not to do it. It's the resistance energy. So you might go, oh, if I go down this journey, it's going to open my mind's eye, my third eye, or the inner eye, however you want to see it, way too much that it might be overwhelming. Do I want to go down that path? So that might be some of the things that might be coming in, or it might lead to a whole heap of work that might be coming in. I might be actually like doing a whole heap of stuff, and that might create a lot of pressure. So yeah, interesting, but it's kind of saying don't let that stop you. So the fourth door is the door of destination. It says, this is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. I love that. And so, rotation. Pretty sure it's right at the end here. It's the wheel. And that's why I love it's got the spider there. Whenever spiders come in, they're spinning this beautiful web, and it is something that is very creative. You are creating something quite delicate, but it's also strong as well. So it's almost taking the sense of tin was almost too delicate. It couldn't withstand the pressure, but then you've found something of immense beauty and delicacy that's coming from you, like the spider web. You wouldn't think it was that strong, but they really are. So you found this newfound strength that has been transformed into a beauty, something very, very beautiful. And that's why we started with Venus and we end with this beautiful energy of the spider. But it's also about the wheel. The wheel is always moving. The web is moving. And maybe things that you're doing online with this as well. And it's, the wheel is around. It's like a Jupiter energy that Jupiter's come in. The Wheel of Fortune is the Jupiter card of expansion, but also understanding, but nothing stands still. It's constantly moving, 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 moving. So let me see. It says, rotation is the great alchemical operation of the wheel. Through its circularity, it indicates that work performed again and again and again and again produces results. It reminds us our efforts are cumulative, not singular, nor is the work ever finished or fixed. Rather, the alchemist rises each day to tend to the work that you're weaving into the world. So it is a sense that this is like an ongoing thing for you. It's perhaps this is a lifelong journey that you're going down here, and it's just constantly weaving and evolving, and there may actually be no real destination or end point with this, but still it expands and still you're creating. So it's a very interesting energy to come through, Aquarius. And like I said, this destination point, it says maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but further down the track, I think you're kind of getting something that you can work with throughout your life that can really be something very special and magical here, which is really lovely, but it might be something quite esoteric. It could be something, quite literally your connection to spirit or to your intuition or psychic abilities or healing abilities, but it can also be something quite concrete. Maybe you are, you've develop some kind of creative practice. Maybe it's to do with your career. Maybe it's to do with a relationship. Relationships are always cycling around. So it could be to do with anything, but I feel like you've found something very beautiful here with this energy of starting with Venus and ending with rotation. So like I said, it's about sitting with this energy. It does make sense later on. You might even want to come back to this reading later on, further down the track. And I always recommend, make sure you watch your sun, moon, and rising signs, because it will kind of complete the picture, show you the fuller picture of what's going on for you. So that's your reading, Aquarius. I'm curious to know how you experience these cards. So please leave a comment. I'd love to hear that. And please like, subscribe, and share if you think this might help somebody. And yeah, that's it. Thanks. Hello, Gemini. So I'm very excited to share this new deck with you today. As I mentioned, it's pretty new for me, so I'm still getting to know it. So if I need to refer, I've got my little book out just in case I need to refer to something, which is not normally what I do, but just because it's a new journey and I'm just going down that journey with you, it's really beautiful. So these are your 4 cards. I've actually already pulled them out because it's new for me. I wanted to sit with them for a little moment just before I started the reading, so I kind of got a sense of the meanings of them as well. And today we're going to do this reading called The Doors of Wisdom, which is a 4-card reading, the premise of it is one door opens the next. And it's a reading about wisdom and the concept of taking necessary steps one step at a time when you're feeling stuck or you don't know what steps to take, or it's a sense that you're moving through something, which is what we're doing at this moment with this big energy that's coming in. So if we read it from left to right, there's 4 cards which represent 4 doors, and the first door is the door of initiation. So I'm going to read this from the book, this little section about what the reading is about. It says, "This is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream." So you have dissolution as your first card. And this is actually a very Neptunian energy in a way, because it's about diving deep into this place where you dissolve, where there's a formlessness, where you're coming deep into the source of nothingness. It's diving deep into water, into the ocean, where you dissolve who you are, your ego, and you're becoming just one with another energy around you. So there's something that feels bigger than you. And so it's a dissolving of your identity, a dissolving of your ego as you become one with so many other things. The funny thing I can see is my dog. I've got a little dog called Space. Funny name, but yeah, my son named him. And he's just popped his little head up. He's not normally there at all. He's in this funny space where he's not usually, and he's gone off exploring and he's having a look around going, where am I? I'm in this very new space. And so quite literally we use the word space a fair bit. So this may be what it might feel like walking through the first door. It's what they're showing me is it's like diving deep into under the water, into the ocean. It's that sense of feeling submerged and that you're in this different space. So yeah, it might feel like that for this door of initiation, the first step. And it is around dissolving yourself, your sense of identity or ego, and becoming one with the source, one with spirit. And also, so this is kind of a beautiful energy to start off with. So the second card, which is the second door, is called the Door of Fortune. And this door is about the door you will then be led into once you step into the door of initiation. And here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So interestingly, you've got copper in there, which copper is all about sensuality. It's something, if you've seen or touched copper, it shines, it's beautiful, it's representative of Venus, the goddess of love and sensuality, to really appreciate these energies of sensuality, connecting in with Aphrodite, the goddess of love, which is really beautiful. So it's this sense of really connecting in with your body after you've gone through this process of dissolution, of dissolving yourself and your ego. And then it's coming back and saying, you know what, I need to really understand the earthly realm and really connect in with some earthly pleasures, like things that bring my body joy and connection and my heart joy. So it's a deep dive into your heart after going through this deep dive into nothingness almost, so into source energy. And then it's a big reconnection of your heart center, your heart energy, which is very beautiful. So this is the Door of Fortune. So the new fortune, interest, or boon, this could be doing something you love or connecting with somebody that you love. So yeah, interesting that's coming through. So the third door, which is card number 3, is the Door of Resistance. It says, this is the new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires, which card 1 is dissolution here, which is jumping into the source energy and dissolving your ego. So The door of resistance is actually a nice one. It's called Mystical Sister, and this is about connecting to an energy of the past. Somebody that has that real amazing soul connection with you. So it may be somebody that's been in your life for the whole time, or it could have been somebody that's passed over. So this is where it's kind of like you're not doing this alone. You're going through this door with somebody else. But this is the sort of person that doesn't judge you. Their presence alone is just there. And it's a very beautiful connection here. So it may be a reconnection, or it may be a sense of we're going through this together, and there may be resistance to that. And so it's, like I said, some of this can be people who have passed over. So maybe you're connecting into energies from the other side, or even cosmic energies. But this is the door of resistance that interestingly, maybe it's like it's something that you're wanting to go through yourself, but there's somebody coming here, or somebody that you need to reconnect to coming through this with you, this door with you. So interestingly, the last door is called the Door of Destination, card number 4, which we have Uranus coming in, which I think is really amazing, since Uranus is part of this huge triple conjunction. It's the planet of awakening. It's the planet of shaking things up. It's the planet of activated change, showing you what no longer belongs to you, showing you the old versus the new you. So it's very much an energy of individualization, like your individual energy, and this beautiful awakening to who you truly are. That's the thing that comes through. And so there's brilliance that comes through with Uranus. There's this sense of letting go of old identities, shaking off old patterns, old things that you're doing, and stepping into the new, which feels really exciting, the new you almost. But it can be brilliant moments of brilliance, inspiration, doing really progressive things. This may be innovation. It may be things to do with technology that you're doing here. It may just be a whole heap of future-orientated ideas that is coming through with Uranus. It may be that there's something to do with the electricity working within your life, whether it is quite literally electrical circuitry around your home or your office or your business, or it's something to do with your own internal electricity, the electrical neurotransmitters inside your brain. That may be shifting and changing, but it's stepping into the destination of awakening, the thing that it's almost like you need to let go of who you are in order to step into this beautiful awakened energy. So yeah, the door of destination, it says this is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card, but eventually as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus. So for now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. So I might actually just look this up for a second and read you a little bit about Uranus, what it says, because I really liked what it says. Awakening brilliance, individualism. When Uranus strikes, we're in for a surprise, not in the outer world, but in ourselves. What wasn't possible before is possible now, thanks to Uranus and its ability to shatter our preconceptions. This shift in perspective or identity brings newfound freedom and opens up dormant energy. For an alchemist, this may be experienced as a long-awaited aha moment or a sudden stroke of genius. Inventions and innovations are born under Uranus energy. This card may also appear to show us what is particularly unique about ourselves or another. So it's interesting you're going on this journey with somebody else as well. So this might be something, a journey of self-discovery with each other, which is interesting. A seemingly random or idiosyncratic quality may end up being the secret ingredient needed in the laboratory. When it's talking about the laboratory, they're talking about just the life in general and how you're working with things and these energies in life. There's just a few interesting terms in this book. The alchemist, and everybody is an alchemist as well. The alchemist knows this radical energy isn't sustainable, and so the work is to show up each day whether or not Uranus strikes. And there was an interesting thing here about, if any of you are into Greek mythology, it says Uranus is aligned with the story of Prometheus, the god of fire, and he gave fire to mankind and was punished to the gods because they thought it was their special thing. But Prometheus was like, this is so amazing, I have to give it to everybody, and he got punished. So you might like to read further into that into that story and kind of connect with it, because there's more to it. It's not just all about that being punished. So it says, consider his myth and relate it to your own story. In what instances have you been Prometheus-like? And this other bit I also liked. Don't get attached to Uranus energy. It can lead to a restlessness or chasing of inspiration, always looking for the next best thing. Take its medicine as an occasional blessing. So, yeah, beautiful. I mean, there's moments of inspiration striking, and you can see how this is like one doorway leads to another, and it's an alchemical shift from this place of nothingness to dissolution of the ego to individualization and your unique qualities, and really working out who you are and what makes you special and unique, and the things that you're working with in this lifetime as well. So, yeah, fantastic. And along the way, it's like reconnecting back in with your body and with somebody who's an old connection or somebody from the past that feels like it's time to reconnect or connect with this energy. And it's a beautiful journey to go along. So that's your reading, Gemini. Thanks so much for joining me. Please let me know how you're enjoying or experiencing this alchemy deck, because it's a little bit different. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And please take care. Hello, Libra, and welcome to your reading. So this is the new deck, and these are your cards. I've actually already pulled them because, like I said, it's all very new for me. I'm still exploring this deck, still getting to know it, and so I just wanted to sit with it before I did the reading. And so just to let you know that I'm going to bounce back and forth from the guidebook to my own intuition, because there's some really great things in the guidebook. And I think just as an introduction, it's just a really great way to kind of express what this deck is about as well. So, and that's just kind of where I'm at with it. But I just got the message to share this with you, this particular deck. So think of this reading as, you know, it is about the bigger energies that are at play here, in terms of we're moving into this huge shift of energy, shift of direction, or where it could be like the bigger picture stuff. It can be something specific that you're thinking of, but I kind of see it as like a bigger, subtler energy that's going on here. And alchemy is about where it's magic at play. So where something's shifting and changing form from one thing to another, but there's a journey along the way, and where you've taken in that journey is something potentially you might land somewhere very different. So for you guys, I feel like you're doing a lot of sense of coming back to your authentic self, connecting into who you truly are. And there's a sense of your identities being bound together. There's the physical realm, and then there's an ascension energy that you're dealing with, a higher realm that you're connecting to spirit. And it's interesting, this is actually a 4-card spread, but a 5th card came out. The resin card came out for you. So I kind of get that eventually you'll be negotiating contracts down the track, new contracts in your life as something that's coming in, but this may be not the contracts that you're thinking of at this moment in time. It might be something very different, or play out very differently, or land very differently. But this energy of the resin, the lightning and the blood, I find really fascinating, because the resin is binding together what's happening in your spiritual world, and the blood energy is what's happening. Don't be too scared about blood. It sounds a bit macabre, but it is about what's going in terms of your life force, your vitality, your connection to your body with that blood energy. So yeah, interesting, but ultimately you're connecting into your true colors. And yeah, it's what binds you together with that. So I wanted to talk about this particular spread that we're doing today. It's called the Doors of Wisdom. And like I said, it's normally a 4-card reading, but a special 5th card came out for you. And the other thing I was getting with resin as this special 5th card that came out is that, like I said, it's a material that binds things and holds things together, but it can also be about holding patterns that you're in at this moment in time and trying to break free of some of those holding patterns. So that's kind of something that's coming through. And ultimately, the big gift of this is going to be something to do with contracts and communication, because we have Mercury at the very end. So the premise of this reading is that there are 4 cards starting from left to right. Each card represents a door, and one door opens the next. So we're kind of going in this linear fashion, even though the journey itself as an alchemical journey is not really linear. It might happen a whole heap of different times. Some doors might be bigger than others. You might spend more time. The energies can all overlap. It's just See it like that. So it's about the concept of taking necessary steps, though, to move into new energies. And you can use this if you're feeling stuck with something in your life. You can use this reading if you're just not sure where you're going, or you can just use it in terms of like this bigger shift, energy shift that we're all going through at this moment, this shift of consciousness. So it also says it will not work unless you trust your intuition. That's the other thing I'm getting with this is this journey is a big journey of self-discovery and trust for you guys. So the first door, which is the peacock's tail, is the door of initiation. And this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else. I'm just reading from the book for the moment to describe this. Even if you would rather avoid it, this card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So the peacock's tail is a very beautiful card to come through here. I'm just going to read what the book says because it was really lovely. If I can find it. Right at the end, I did put, here we go. Full vision. I love this. Full vision, the spectrum, inclusivity. It says the peacock's tail is a sacred image in alchemy. The mesmerizing display of tail feathers opens to mark the alchemist having shifted from single to multi-perspective. So there's an opening of your eyes, opening of perspective. But yeah, it's also this sense that if you've ever seen a peacock's tail, it's shimmery, it's shiny, it's like this exuberant radiance that comes. So it's about stepping into your own radiance, which is really beautiful. So it says the alchemist, and we're all the alchemists. It refers to the alchemist. That's us. That's you. This is a great achievement. The alchemist has opened 1,000 sets of eyes instead of one. They've discarded black and white thinking and allowed the full spectrum of colours, nuances and solutions to come into the fold. Creative solutions to complex social and political polarities can be found in this sacred space. The force field of possibilities has opened. So you're just opening this door to new possibilities and seeing a whole heap of new things. And where am I up to? Sorry. And the alchemist has entered a new paradigm belonging to multiplicity, dimensionality, and inclusion. Utilize this perspective for positive change while it lasts. When falling back into black and white thinking, as anyone will do, envision the splendor of the peacock's tail. Each feather contains a shimmering universe of possibility. Beautiful. I love that. And yeah, I feel like you're just opening to new realms, new possibilities, new people in your life that is coming through. And that's what this peacock's tail energy. And it's also like a personal inclusivity, like connecting to your true colors, radiating from that energy, but also including parts of you that there's the full color spectrum there. So there are some parts of you that are the darker colors or the duller colors, or they're not shining quite as bright. And it's including some parts of you that have lived in the shadows as well, which is interesting. And while I say that, the next door is lightning, which is about light. It's not lightning as in a lightning strike, but as in lightning and energy, lightening those colors that have been either faded or dark, the things within your life. Those colors represent in the peacock's tail. There's this beautiful lightning, and that's why I'm getting this beautiful high vibrational ascension energy that's coming in, which is really lovely. And there might be a huge release that's associated with that. So this is door 2. I'm just going to read to you what door 2 is about, if I can find it. It says the door of fortune. Okay, this is the door you will then be led into after door 1, which here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So the lightning energy, my goodness, okay, it's really beautiful. It's this sense of ascension, things lightning, feeling brighter, you're shining brighter in general. So I'll read what the book says about it when we get to lightning. Yeah, the other thing that comes in with this is it's talking about perfectionism, the masks and the facades that we wear, hesitation to be starting things because you have to be perfect, because you have to be something that you're not. And that's why I'm kind of getting it's an embracing of the true colours of who you are, embracing of your true self. All parts of it, bits that you think are acceptable or not acceptable. It's like opening the spectrum and opening up to new possibilities because you're opening up to yourself, which is a beautiful energy. So it says, this card arrives to remind us to get our hands dirty. No one is separate from or above anyone else. Rather, every alchemist is a kid in the laboratory. So it's also about, that child connecting to your inner child energy as well, where children will just try things out. And not all, eventually children do learn to not try about stuff. But this is the pure innocent inner child energy that comes in. So you're just playing at the end of the day, tinkering away with the elements of their life. No more fretting over your next move, fearing how others will perceive you. It's time to crack open, become who you are. The world needs your true colours. Beautiful. And that's kind of where you stepped into with the peacock's tail, is showing the world your true colours, or at least discovering what that is within yourself and learning to love and accept all of that as well, which is really nice. So that is your fortune, that sense of not even second guessing yourself, being more open to things because you're showing you're cracking open, becoming who you are meant to be, and showing the world your true colors. It's a beautiful sense of this is me. This is me. And like I said, we've got the resin energy, which is holding you together. So I'm going to read door 3 because it's kind of, I think we need to know what door 3 is to know what the resin's holding together. So door 3 is, which is blood, the door of resistance. And it says, this is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. And blood is all about connecting into your body, your life force. It may even be to do with, some people fear blood as well, but it could be to do with your ancestry. But the blood energy is your listening to your body, connecting to your body. So it says the pulse, physicality, the body. And it actually says, have no fear of the blood card. It indicates a remembrance of the vital mammalian nature of our existence. Drop by drop, this sacred elixir reminds us that we are alive, not merely thinking beings, but being beings. When blood is in the laboratory, okay, so when they're talking about the laboratory, they're just basically talking about the work. It's like a metaphorical space in which you're kind of working with all these elements. Okay, so when blood is in the laboratory, the alchemist uses the physical body as the starting point, building a relationship to the container that houses the spirit. Through the limbs, the organs, the cells, we witness the miracle of life, one heartbeat at a time. Eventually, the alchemist naturally partakes in practices that support and nourish blood's life-giving nature. We learn to honour and protect it. In alchemy, red is the colour of vitality and radiance. It's sort of interesting they're talking about this radiance. With this card, you've dropped into the vital realm, sing the body's praises. So it's kind of like, that's why I'm getting this, the blood is the body and the lightning is more the spirit or the true self, but the blood is the physical self where we hold our vitality, our radiance within our body. Even the things that we hold within our body, we can hold all sorts of things, stress, worry, trauma, their scars. These are all things that can be part of this, and this can be maybe part of the resistance is that maybe you're kind of seeing it more as, a higher esoteric or spiritual journey. And it is saying at some point, it is asking you to connect into your body and the history of your body, the health of your body, the messages of your body, the aliveness of your body. And so that's why the resin energy is holding those two energies together, the body and the spirit, the ascension energy, so that you're grounded, which is actually really important. So I am going to read, if I can find resin here. I'm just going to get resin for you. Where is resin? I've marked all of these because otherwise you can spend forever flicking through these. Holding, adhering, surrounding. It says resin is a miraculous material. It offers both stability and transparency. So its qualities are protective, sealing, and hardening. When this card appears, there is a holding that's occurring either literally or psychically, or even physically, I'm getting here as well. While well-intended, someone may be limiting the one they wish to protect. There may be an aspect of nostalgia at work in the laboratory, an unwillingness to let go or change. On the other hand, the resin card can indicate preservation of that which is most valued, a return to what's been lost. So I feel like it's a return to that true essence of who you are, but it's holding you together with the physical energy so that it's not just spirit. So, yeah, interesting. So we have As the final door, the door of destination. The door of destination is Mercury, and that represents the planet Mercury. So it says, the door of destination. This is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually, as you take the steps toward it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. And as you know, Mercury is the planet of communication, the way that your brain works, the way that you organize, your perception of things. So it's this sense with the peacock's tail, you're opening up your perception to the full color spectrum. And then ultimately, this is something you're going to be working with in terms of, you know, how you're communicating or expressing yourself or organizing yourself or seeing and perceiving the world. This is the door of destination, and how that or what that looks like, that's going to be different for all of you. And it might not make sense until you land there later on. So Mercury, it says signals, messages, tricks. The other thing with this, I find it interesting because it says, in the realm of Mercury, anything is possible. The energy is transfixing and seductive, just like the metal itself. This planet rules commerce and communication. It's likely there are deals, contracts, and calls being exchanged that will spin you into a whirl of mercurial wonder. So I do feel like this is potentially going to have some sort of impact on your career as well for a lot of you. Don't rush big decisions or get caught in the mesmerizing energy. Rather, pay particular attention to the precise words that are being spoken and written. There may be a trick underway, maybe not. No one is sure yet. It is said that the energy of Mercury is found in the pinky finger and that its ally is the color green. We love that. Enjoy your time in this emerald hall of mirrors. Just don't sign your name on the dotted line until what is liquid becomes solid, until clear words are expressed by an honest tongue. So there is this sense of, you know, a lot happens and opens up in terms of, you know, business, trade, contracts, deals, communication. There's just like the door could open wide for this and how this presents or how you're expressing yourself in the world. But it's also saying, yeah, be really discerning with that energy as well. So that is the door of destination. So we start with opening up to seeing the full spectrum of the colors of the peacock tail, connecting into your inner radiance. And then it's this sense of awakening parts of your spirit and body and binding them together. And there's this new perception or communication that's coming in that you are going to be working with in the material realm in terms of the way that you're communicating and perceiving the world or operating with the world. So yeah, beautiful. And like I said, that end point, that destination point, that will form eventually. It might not make sense now, but that will make form later. And for some of you, this could be something really highly creative as well. You know, it can be a form of expression that's coming through. Maybe it's coming through in writing or singing or just the way you're like podcasting or anything that you could be bringing in here. So yeah, that's sort of something that could come through as well. So I like this. I like it. I think it's a great reading for you, Libra. So that's it. I'd be curious to know how you experienced this. So please leave a comment and make sure you listen to your sun, moon and rising if you know what they are, because it gives you the fuller picture of what's going on for you. And please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and please take care. Okay, Scorpio. So this is your reading. I've already pulled the cards because as I mentioned, I'm really getting to know this deck. I'm really delighted and excited to be sharing this with you today, but I'm still learning and getting to know it myself. So I wanted to pull the cards and sit with them for a bit beforehand and just get to a feeling of what this is about. So this reading, I'm going to use a little bit of a mix of like going back and forth from the guidebook and my own intuition. So it's going to be a bit of both. I'm really delighted that there is one particular card that's come out for you, but we'll talk about that in a sec. And the way I'd like you to kind of see this reading as this is a process of alchemy. It's an alchemy deck. So it's about something shifting and changing form from one thing into another. So it's about the journey. It's about the process and the mysteries that are involved with the process. So I'm kind of thinking of this as in terms of the big activation that's happening in the energy that's shifting and changing on a higher level at this moment in time in your life, and how that's how that process is shifting and changing form in terms of stepping into the new consciousness of the earth, what might be awakening within you. So this could feel like something quite specific to you, but it might be also something just on a bigger picture energy. So the reading we're doing today is called The Doors of Wisdom. It's a 4-card reading, and you can see the 4 cards. It goes from left to right. So left we have card 1, we have the New Pearl, which is, the first card, and then the 4th card is the Great Work. So the Great Work is really a fantastic card to have as a destination point to come in. And the premise of this is that each card represents a door in terms of this alchemical process, and one door opens the next. So it's like this process, but it's not necessarily exactly linear like that. It can all happen in all sorts of different ways. So just to be open to that. And this is a great spread if you're kind of feeling stuck or you're not sure where you're going with something, or like I said, just opening up to these bigger changes that are happening on an energetic level on the earth. And so it says it will not work unless you trust your intuition. Well, I know you're going to be fine with that, Scorpio. So let's get stuck into it. So ultimately what I'm getting just as a general meaning for this is this could be something really big in relationship to your career or a legacy that you might be wanting to step into. It may not be, but it's a sense of there can be frustrations, irritations, waiting for things. But then, so there can be like these, I'm getting this great divide in the things that you have to go through, the challenges versus the rewards can be great. So it's about patience. It really is about patience. This energy, you can't force it, but you've got the Great Work as the destination point, which is really fantastic. So let's look at door 1, which is the New Pearl. It's called the Door of Initiation. So I'm just going to read what the doors are about from the book. It says, this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So the thing with the pearl, and it reminds me a lot of the oyster card in that she's the same artist that made this deck, the animal oracle deck, the animal spirit deck, which is really lovely. So the pearl is about where something's really, it can just take one thing that's really irritating you, but it can turn into something really amazing down the track. So it's almost like you have to go into a period of irritation and waiting and frustration in order for this process to start. So I'm going to read to you what it says about the New Pearl, because I've marked them all in this book. Otherwise, you can quite literally get lost in this book, because she's got them all in like Roman numerals. It's called, the New Pearl, Grit, Irritation, Waiting. The New Pearl is one of the great promises of alchemy. From a single grain of sand, the pearl forms slowly but surely in the salty mouth of the oyster. The New Pearl emerges as an alchemical miracle, a sight unimaginable at the outset. That said, the process is generated from irritation itself. Such is the medicine of the New Pearl card. The work is underway, but the gem has not yet formed. Don't become petty and hasty, seeking a return on your efforts. Rather, turn to patience, consistency, and humility to remedy the discomfort. Let the magic of time and salt water do its work. Quite literally, like some of you, if you're near the ocean, that might actually be a really great thing to do if you can go for a swim. But I know that's not all of us. Okay, so relax, believe, and support a fellow alchemist. We're all alchemists, okay, in finding the grit that will become their pearl. Don't worry about you right now. The entire ocean is your ally. So, that's the door to step into that sense of waiting, and you might be a little bit irritated. Some of you might even know what this is, and you've already started something. And it's like stepping into what they're showing me is like stepping into the death card in the tarot, which is the card of transformation, transition, and change. You can't push it. Otherwise, it's like pushing against the tide. You've got to let this journey play out how it's meant to play out in the timing that it wants to play out. So that in itself can be frustrating. We've got the second door, which is alchemical wedding, the door of fortune. This is the door you will then be led into. Here is where you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. Now, what I find with these cards is sometimes they're literal, and I'll explain that with the next card that's coming up. but sometimes they're just kind of more of a process or more esoteric, or more metaphorical. So it really is going to be, different for all of you. But this could quite literally be a wedding, a coming together, a celebration of something really coming together eventually. So, and then we've got the great work. So it's really fantastic. So I'm going to read to you about the great wedding. Where is the great wedding in here? Ritual, celebration, uniting. So it's, like I said, coming together. The ritual thing is interesting as well. I mean, I guess a wedding is like an official ritual. It may be that part of this work, the thing that you're doing, even the irritation is that there's daily rituals, or that this sense of this bigger thing that you're working on eventually becomes like a ritual in your life in some ways. You might be into doing rituals, new moon, full moon rituals, magic, anything like that. But it says, all hail the alchemical wedding. It says the laboratory, when it's talking about the laboratory, it's just basically talking about, the things that you're working with in your life at this moment in time. The laboratory morphs into a dreamlike dance floor, and all your allies, fellow alchemists and ancestors are here to witness the celebration. So this is kind of where it might feel a little bit like, when we're talking about the answers, I'm just getting this karmic feel to this, that this might be something that you are like, carrying on from past ancestries. It's finished work, or you've been handed a mantle. So there's some kind of karma. It might have this sense of destiny, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime. So really, listen to that feeling. What was once lost has been found. What was once denied has come fully into the alchemist's embrace. The work is often felt as serious and studious, but the alchemical wedding is a moment of levity and brightness and lightness. When this card arrives, it is of utmost importance to mark the occasion, celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. So when you feel like you've come to that's why I'm saying the rewards are great. You've started from this place of irritation and grit and waiting, and then the door of fortune, the boon, is like this celebration. And so it is, mark the celebration, maybe with a ritual, maybe a bottle of champagne, whatever it is that you want, how you want to celebrate. So honour and acknowledge those who have helped you along the alchemical path. You have come so far, quite literally. I feel like the starting point, where you start, Scorpio, and where you end up are just like unimaginable, two very different places. So yes, you've come so far. Energy radiates from the uniting of opposites and the redrawing of life's blueprint. Interesting. The new form has arrived. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because the grit is kind of like, there's something irritating you, but the pearl hasn't formed. And now the boon, the fortune is that it has arrived. The form has arrived. So the unknown has become known, which is great. You'll be back to your existential queries and tinkering ways in no time. Now the work is to revel in the miracles. So, wow, what an amazing card to come in terms of the card of fortune. Now, this next card is the one I wanted to talk to you about as well, is the door of resistance. Door 3 is the oil of vitriol. This is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. So this card is actually the Green Lion. I was so delighted to find there was a Green Lion card, and I didn't know it was there, and I was doing a more reading one day of less of something on the left-hand side, more. So it's 2-card reading, more of what you need to be doing on more energy on the right-hand side. And I pulled out this card as the less, and I'm like, less Green Lion. Okay, what do I need to do more of? And I was like, the other card was the artist, and I'm like, more art. So I'm like, that was the message I was getting. And so I'm like, okay, I need to work out my schedule today so I can work out some time to do some art and this art journey just in general. So that's why it can be quite literal. And so, maybe the door of resistance is quite literally the message. You might be getting resistance to the message you're getting today. But this kind of exacerbates this irritation, this Green Lion energy here. This is where you're just getting frustrated with something, really, really frustrated. It looks like it's roaring at a pearl there, but I think that's meant to be the sun. But, you can see the comparisons between it's just a shiny object, so a shiny ball. So I'm kind of getting, it's like you want this pearl to be gold. You want to find the gold and you're really frustrated it hasn't formed into what you want it to be yet. And so this lion is just roaring at it, going, ah. And so it's almost like, yeah, you know that you're going to go through these extreme frustrations, but at the same time, it's this huge reward, which is fascinating. So I'll read what it says about the green lion, if I can find it in here. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. Acidity. So oil of vitriol. Acidity, resentment, purification. When the green line appears, a great alchemical reckoning is afoot. Long-standing frustration and imbalance cause this regal creature to lash out unconsciously, consuming all in its path. So it's when things are really out of balance. You might be really out of sorts. Sometimes, we're our own worst enemy. It's this sense of you're not your best self at this moment in time. Be prepared for emotional turmoil as the lion thrashes about. Don't worry, these changes are necessary for growth, and in the end it will be a relief to all. You can see why this is the door of resistance. Purification is the lion's aim, and it's determined to get there one way or another. When this card appears, the question must be asked, am I the green lion or the sun, the one consuming or the one being consumed? It is said that finding oneself in the mouth of the lion is a necessary moment on any spiritual path. As the discomfort passes, and that's that word again, discomfort, the sun's beams shine all the brighter. And that line, as the discomfort passes, the sun's beams shine all the brighter, I think is just really epitomizes the whole reading in terms of the shades of dark and light. You kind of got to go into this frustrated energy to see the light and get to the light. So, yeah, so I was delighted to find there was a green lion card, despite the fact it possibly could have a slightly, I don't know, better reading. But anyway, door 4 is the door of destination, the great work. Okay, it says, this is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. So this is the thing, the big thing that you're kind of is forming and is stepping into. And so, yeah, it's fantastic. And I feel like a lot of you, this is to do with, like I said, legacy, career, something beautiful. I mean, we've got those beautiful roses there that are about to bloom and blossom in your life. So it says the great work, attention, devotion, vocation. The magnum opus shimmers in the distance. I love that shimmering energy. It's just this sense of shining and kind of like a mirage-like energy of seeing something, but it hasn't quite taken shape yet, not sure if it's real or not. But then when it does finally appear, it's like, oh my gosh, it's real. And then it's almost like you become that shining thing that you're radiating this light from, which is really lovely. So the magnus opus shimmers. So the magnus opus is the great work, sorry. Shimmers in the distance, promising purpose, achievement, and understanding. When will we get there? That's the big question. When are you going to get there? It's like frustrating. When are we going to get there? When will our efforts be recognized? Amidst pressure and expectations, we come to realize each alchemist's life is an accumulation of moments in which attention is placed upon a subject. The artist draws a single line, not lion. The poet scribes a single word, the rose forms a single leaf. The great work card reminds us that the alchemical garden grows from seeds tended to by devoted hands and the grace of sun, water, and earth. So it is saying it is requiring devotion to it, no matter how frustrating it can be. And I do feel like that frustration will shift eventually. It says you cannot force the great work, like we were saying. You cannot claim it or complete it. This card arrives to whisper words of encouragement. You are in the right place, the most important place for you. This is the alchemical garden. Tend to the youngest growth, be delicate and precise. So it feels like maybe there's like, it is a lot to do with expectations and what you're seeing this as. but seeing it as something that can really grow. Maybe it's growing into something different or bigger, or something that can continually be growing as well, continually working out, continually devoted to. So it may not necessarily have an end point or a destination, but where that is going to be or what that's going to look like, that's the thing that's going to be revealed at the very end. So that's the reading, Scorpio. That's the reading. And as you can see, they're very, like, the journey of these cards are very different. So that's why it's a lot to do with just sitting with them. You might need to come back and listen to this like further down the track. It might make a little bit more sense. But yeah, I mean, that's it. So I'd love to hear your experience of this deck and how you're feeling about it. And so please leave a comment. Please also like, subscribe, share if you think this will help somebody. And be sure to watch your sun, moon and rising signs to give you the more complete picture of what's going on. So that's it, Scorpio. Thanks so much for joining me. Hello, Cancer. Okay, so let's look at your reading. So this is the new deck that I have. It's a beautiful deck. It is this lovely, the cards are these lovely hexagonal shapes, like a hive or like a honeycomb energy shape, so that everything is showing how everything is interconnected, interconnectedness of everything. So it's kind of interesting. And yeah, so today, as I mentioned, I'm still getting to know this deck. I'm still kind of sitting with it. And so I just really wanted to share it with you today, but just letting you know where I'm at. So I am going to bounce back and forth between what's happening in the guidebook and also my intuition and the intuitive messages that I'm getting around this. And how I'd like you to kind of think of this reading as the big shift and change that's happening. It's a reading, this deck's called Alchemy. So it is around something that's shifting and changing form from one thing into the other. And the process is kind of a magical process along the way. And it may be the journey is just as important as the destination along this. So well, it definitely is. So it's kind of like my intention is around looking at the bigger shifts in terms of the energy that's coming in for you in terms of what's happening with this activation point and this great triple conjunction that's coming in. But this particular reading, it's called the 4 Doors of Wisdom. I'm just going to get it open here for you. The Doors of Wisdom. So it's a 4-card reading. So we're reading from left to right. So Quicksilver is door 1 and Jupiter is door 4 or card 4. So the premise of the reading is that each card represents a door and one door opens to the next. And so it's a journey that we're going down. And this may be you can use this reading, like I said, for that higher, bigger energy shift that's going on for you alchemically. But it can also be this sense of if you have a sense of you're feeling stuck and you're not sure which steps to take, or it may be that you don't know where you're going. So you can use it with that as well. But it says it will not work unless you trust your intuition. So that's something interesting to come through. So card number 1 is Quicksilver. So just before we start, before I kind of go into detail with the cards, I'm getting that this reading is about a great awakening for you. It's about stepping into areas or a space that might be slightly less defined, that might be a little bit more uncomfortable, but then it ends up being a very expansive space. Very, very good outcome here because Jupiter is the planet of expansion and luck and good fortune that's coming in as your destination. So we like that. So Door 1, card number 1 is Quicksilver, and it's called the Door of Initiation. And it says, this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. I'm just reading from the book for the moment. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So Quicksilver is interesting because it's kind of like this in-between energy, a limbo energy, an undefined space. And so it's kind of asking, and it can be very esoteric as well for those of you that are healers, shamans, psychic energy yourself. It's like going into that liminal realm. So I'm going to read what it says about Quicksilver in here. If I can find it. I have marked them all because it's really hard to find everything in this book all the time. But it says, that was it, and I just lost it for a second. Slippery, mobile, Mercury. So it's like, it's really hard to kind of hold and hard to define what it is. But it says, part Part liquid and part metal, quicksilver, also known as mercury, is a mesmerizing material. Its gift is to slip between worlds. It cannot be pinned down or easily defined. Mercury came to symbolize the great god Hermes and the great hermetic secrets of alchemy, always sliding away into secrecy. It is said Mercury represents the transition between the physical and the unseen worlds, between life and death, between science and the esoteric. It is the metal of sacred thresholds. So if you can imagine yourself standing at this threshold, this sacred threshold, and are you going to walk through that door? Is this something that you are kind of being drawn into? Because there's a lot of unknowns in there, but there's also like, well, it seems mysterious and interesting at the same time. It says, shamanic practitioners of every tradition must acquire the ability to stand at the doorway between worlds. This is no small feat. The Mercury card indicates the querent has a particular gift for such a task. So this is you. This is the work of the shaman, teacher, sage, artist, and alchemist. So heed the call of quicksilver. The sacred threshold requires your attendance. So there's something like this sense of this esoteric threshold that is asking you to step into this world. So however that presents. So it does seem like it's quite literally, conceptually it is like a door that you're stepping through here. So the second door is the door of fortune. We have the androgyne. Androgyne, can never say that one. You might know how to say it. And this is a really lovely one because the quicksilver energy is really slippery. We don't know. We're in between realm. You kind of are being asked to step into a space where you're not sure where you are or where you're going. But the fortune that you find here, the door of fortune this is the door you will then be led into. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So this is the card of the artist, the card of creating something that has this lovely balance between the divine masculine, the divine feminine, something that doesn't need to be labelled. So it's almost like you need to go into this realm, go through the door of quicksilver, where you're letting go of any need to kind of have to define anything. And that's part of the gift that you find in terms of this beautiful creation that you're making here. We've got that spider and those rainbows and the beautiful blue rose is blossoming there. So it's a sense of something beautiful is blossoming within you that you don't have to label or define, and something that you are creating and working within this world. So it's really lovely. So let's look it up, the androgyne, can't say it. It says creative transcendence, beautiful, multiplicity and the artist. Okay, it's depicted as a balanced union of divine masculine, the sun, and divine feminine, the moon. It encompasses the infinite spectrum and reveals itself in ever-changing non-binary forms. It's represented by a divine hermaphrodite energy. So it says, which is the divine masculine, feminine, kind of forming a whole, but not really needing to be defined at the same time. So the divine hermaphrodite defies definition as it is deeply personal. It's a deeply personal felt experience, accessing this fluid and enlightened state. And that's why it's interesting when we're talking about the fluidity. It's almost like you had to go into that mercurial state, go through that door where you were in a more fluid state to be able to arrive here at the same time. But accessing this fluid and enlightened state requires us to slip into the contradictory realm of the senses. Breath by breath, we are drawn into our limbs, our fluids, organs, and cells. We let go of rules and labels. Judgment is suspended. The gods are present, as are the creative mysteries of the underworld. For a brief moment, we hold all of our complexities in one loving form. Like a newborn, we know not our name, gender, age, or location. We are the embodied artist, embraced unconditionally by sun and moon. So it is this beautiful thing that you're creating. Like, it could quite literally be a creative project or some sort of creativity, but this could be you. This could be you accessing parts of you that is on this deep level that it's like, it just is me. It's about acceptance. It's about accepting all the different parts of you and just being. And so letting go of any kind of need to label or judge or say what that is as well. So that is, I don't know if you've ever done this where you kind of tune into that place within you, to that soul space that just feels like it's this place of great peace. There's nothing in there. There is no judgment in that space, that source energy of who you are. It's really coming back to the source, which is really lovely. But this can also be something like, sometimes these cards can be literal, sometimes they can be metaphorical and esoteric. It's going to be different. You can take it in different ways. So this could be a beautiful creative work or something to do with you don't want to label, which is really lovely. And it can be much more complex than the way I'm describing it at the moment. So let's look at door 3, which is the red and white rose. This is the door of resistance. It says, this is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires, which is going into that slippery realm or the in-between, going over the sacred threshold. So we have the red and white rose. I think I might have lost this actually. I'm going to have to find it again. Okay, so this is actually the card of vital force, arising and awakening. So this is actually the awakening energy we were talking about. You might resist this whole awakening. Stepping into this, it's a whole sense of what is the awakening actually going to mean? It's like an enlightening energy. It may be that you have a whole new sense of self or where you're at. And so part of you might think, well, I don't want that. I don't really want to be awakened, or things they're sleeping. I don't necessarily want them to wake up. I don't know what they are or what this means. So there may be resistance to that as well. So it says the merging of red and white is an exquisite moment. It means that something is coming to life before the alchemist's eyes. The pristine white of the rose is not threatened by the blood red pigment. Their mixing does not make pink. Rather, each colour remains vibrantly itself, expressing its message, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, the red and the white, they remain defined as red and white. But this card of the androgyne is all about removing the labels and just being what it is. So, yeah, it's interesting. Like the rod of, oh, no, that just sounds too crazy. It appears to signify the awakening, like it's just too many Latin words. Sorry, not crazy, but I'm like, I'm not going to go down that path. Signifies awakening of the physical as a gateway to the spiritual. So interesting, because we're talking about these sense of gateways, but it's like the physical gateway to the spiritual. Without the body, spiritual teachings remain conceptual, not yet integrated into the everyday. This card encourages the alchemist to honour the body as a temple each and every day. Observing it, listening to it, mining it for information and guidance. At its height, this card signifies a mastery, a uniting of body to serve the soul's purpose, as seen in the like of dancers, athletes, and during the birth process. So, yeah, and again, it's this sense of combining body and soul, but it could actually be about connecting deeply to your body on a very spiritual basis. And for some people, there is resistance to that as well. There's resistance to things that seem known and defined becoming something else. And so that's part of what this is as well. So, but we have for the destination, card 4 is the door of destination. This is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. And that's why this reading kind of takes a little bit of time, and I thought it was apt because it is a little slightly different. You need to sit with it for a bit. You might want to come back to it later, like further down the track. So Jupiter, the great benefic planet Jupiter. And Jupiter, as I am recording this reading, is stationing. It's stationing to go retrograde. And that is a day when Jupiter is like super amplified, super, it's wanting to expand. It's super powerful. So it says expansion, possibility, fortune. We like that. Jupiter is often a welcome sight emerging from the darkness, shimmering with possibilities. It is the planet of growth, expansion, success, and elevation. When this card appears, the future is full and bright, perhaps even dazzling. Ooh, we like that. Everyone wants to be around Jupiterian energy and to claim a little for themselves. So there's likely a magnetic feeling at play. The work is to keep Jupiter's bigness in balance during the wave of expansion that's taking place. Its shadow is most easily seen in celebrity culture, excess, consumption, and messaging of never enough. You may begin comparing yourself with others or assessing your value. Don't double judge yourself for this. Jupiter happens. Instead, realign with the benevolent message in your heart, what truly needs expanding. And then it says it's not likely your followers or your bank account. Although I kind of think some people might disagree with that. Expanding the bank account could be good, but they're saying it's more than that. It's more than just that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the Jupiter energy is sometimes when you have this grand dream that's unattainable as well, you know, thinking big, but it's not actually realistic. So that can be the energy of Jupiter. But ultimately, I'm seeing that it's wanting to expand this beautiful energy that's happening, that you're working with here, that, it can bring a lot of success into your life. And like I said, it's almost like indefinable what this is or what it's going to be. So whether this is like an energy of who you are, perception of you, your expansion as a soul on this planet, or whether it's actually something that you're working on here, or, you know, a relationship, Jupiter energy, like I said, you've got to sit with it for a while and see where this goes. But yeah, it's so fantastic to have Jupiter there as the destination point, which is really lovely. So, yeah, very much a sense of expansion through going through these gateways, which is like going through Quicksilver, which is the slippery energy of in-between worlds, the shamanic realms, the esoteric realms. And then the Fortune is really this sense of creation that doesn't need to be labelled or defined, whatever this is. And then part of the Resistance is the connection to body and how the body's fitting into this, because sometimes we might want to just be up here, like going la, 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 la. And there's like, you do need to connect into your body as well. And it may be finding that connection between body and soul might be part of like the resistance that's coming in, dealing with that. But we have as the door of destination Jupiter, which is the great benefic planet of expansion, luck, good fortune, and a lot of success. And so feeling like the future is something's really opening up for you, and there's a lot more possibilities that are coming through. Amazing possibilities could come through with this. So that's it, Cancer. That's the reading. And so I'd be curious to know how you experience this deck and these new cards. So please leave a comment and make sure to watch your sun, moon, and rising if you know signs, if you know what they are, because it gives you a more complete picture of what's going on. And please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and take care. Okay, Pisces, so this is your reading. This is the new deck. This is the new cards, and you can see they're like a hive shape. They're hexagons. So it is this sense that it's based on the bees and the hive and honeycomb. So it is all about the interconnectivity and the oneness of everything. So that's what I love about it. And so it's called an alchemy deck. So it is around alchemy, quite literally, magic, things changing form, something changing form into something else, and the magical process and journey along the way. So that's what the cards are about. And I kind of was thinking about these readings as if we're looking at the big changes that are happening on the earth and the big changes that might be happening in your world at this moment in time. Now, I'm really excited to share this deck with you, but like I mentioned, I'm still learning it. I'm still getting to know it. So I'm going to bounce off a little bit of the guidebook and my intuitive messages that are coming through as I'm kind of getting more used to the deck, Pisces, and used to reading with it. But today was supposed to be a 4-card reading, but an extra 5th card came out, the card of synchronicity. So that would suggest pay attention to lots of synchronicities. There's forces at play, spiritual energies around that are kind of giving you messages along the way, along this path. So that's something to bear in mind. And this reading is called The Doors of Wisdom. So it's meant to be read from left to right. So we have card 1 is Iron on the left, and card 4 is the Great Serpent on the right. And the premise of it is that each card represents a door, and each door opens up to the next thing. So this spread is really great if you wanted to kind of, if you're feeling stuck with something or you don't know where you're going, or just like we said, this bigger picture energy that's coming in, this big energy awakening and this huge shift that's going on. And so it does say it will not work unless you trust your intuition. So they're slightly different, these cards. It is about just sitting with them. Sometimes they're really literal and sometimes they're more metaphorical, symbolic. So just kind of, take it as you will. And what I'm getting for your general message here is it's time to start something. But you're starting with something you've already got here. There's already a structure here that you're working with and connecting into your own inner strength. But potentially there's a lot of rewards along this journey. There's this sense of a beautiful harvest that's coming in, but also it may be that you find yourself on a totally different trajectory further down the track. So the first card is Iron, and that is the door of initiation. And it says, this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So iron is like really strong. It's actually, you can see the symbol for ARIES there as well. So it's all about initiating, taking action, working on something that's already got a pretty concrete structure, something that's already pretty strong in your life at this moment in time. So I'm going to read what it says about iron in the book. It says, magnetism, reliability, Mars. It says, iron is a reliable metal that can withstand great pressure. Over the centuries, we've come to utilize this metal extensively, mixing it with carbon to create the steel bridges, highways, and infrastructures that span across the globe. In alchemy, iron is associated with the planet Mars and shares its qualities of being strong, assertive, and potentially warlike. So it's kind of like the Mars energy is, it's strong and assertive, but it's also very motivated about stepping into something. So this is like the first, the door of initiation. It says, when the iron card appears, there is a call to rely only on the reliable. Okay? What truly supports you? What have you already built? Iron dwells at the center of the earth, so when all else feels lost, go inward. There is a deep magnet there that pulls you towards what is steady and true, which is really lovely. So connecting to your inner strength and that, your own resilience as well. For the moment, put your words and weapons down and let yourself be held by the structure that is already in place. So it's, you're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're working with what it is that you've got, going within and connecting, putting connecting to strength, connecting to putting a strong foot forward and getting really motivated. So that's the first door you're stepping through here. The second door is the door of fortune. The second card is summer. This is this is the door you will then be led into, the door of fortune. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So beautiful. And summer is a really lovely card to come in. It says fullness, vitality, sensuality. It says to experience summer is to be embodied. The summer air kisses every crevice of our body, opening us up in ways long forgotten. Lust, desire, laughter, sweat, physicality. These are all expressions of summer's fullness shining through. When this card appears, know that the senses are heightened and the work is nearing full expression. It may feel as though things are electrified or about to burst. Keep in mind that like all the alchemical seasons, summer will soon pass. For now, everything in your narrative is fleshed out and the story has just another chapter or two until it begins again. So revel in this time of ripening and rhythm. Celebrate, gather, connect. I love that. Celebrate, gather, connect, a time of ripening and rhythm. This is the fortune that you're stepping into. So I feel like you're also, there is this sense that of achievement, but also that you're kind of meeting up or connecting with people that are on the similar journey, on a similar soul tribe energy to you as well. Whether the season is literal or metaphorical, let yourself be swept into the pulse of these hot and heavy nights. I love that. So summer is kind of like, let yourself loose, let yourself be a little bit free. But there is this sense of, there's this beautiful vitality and sensuality that comes. It's a full energy that you're working with, which is really nice. So let's look at the third card. which is the third door, the door of resistance. It says, this is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. Now, the Raven's Head is all about just starting. It's all about just taking those initial steps and just starting and working with what you've got here with the Iron card and, you know, connecting into your strength. So the Raven's Head is really fantastic. And it's kind of interesting because between the Raven's Head and connecting the Raven's Head and summer is this synchronicity energy. So you might be getting a lot of messages about starting, what it is that you're starting. The universe is like giving you all these messages, and it's like when you've got a blank page and you kind of resist actually writing. It could be writer's block or whatever it is, those energies around it. It's just like, even just the idea of starting can be really overwhelming. So it says, initiation, the ordeal, the work begins, Raven's Head. The Raven's Head has a precise message. It arrives to mark the beginning of work. This card indicates something has occurred, known or unknown, to initiate the spinning of the alchemical wheel. With its mighty churning, things are about to change on every level. So again, there could be resistance to that, this sense that everything's about to shift and change by starting this. The raven's work cannot be undone, just as the pill cannot be unswallowed or the pearl turned back to sand. You may be overwhelmed or think the journey ahead is not for you. That's really important, I think, that line, to think the journey ahead is not for you. But listen to those synchronicities, because the universe is going to let you know that it is for you, or what this journey is, and even how to begin it as well. I feel like those messages are just going to keep coming and coming until you kind of step into this. Your doubts matter not to the raven, as its appearance signifies it has chosen you. You are ready and the moment is now. Can you go back to the way things were? Can you pretend nothing has changed? The raven caws a clear no. It does not apologise, as it knows your destiny is great. So that's the door of resistance here, Pisces. So the fourth door here, and I mean, I can understand how that there's a lot of resistance about stepping into it, but I feel like there's a lot of encouragement from the universe coming through, and some great rewards with summer and the great serpent coming in. So the door of destination, the great serpent, door 4. It says, this is a vision of the future. This is what the door's about. This is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually, as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. And this is the great serpent, the Ouroboros. Okay, here it is. The great serpent. The tail eater, the guardian, the quantum realm. Okay, so this is the destination. Interestingly, the quantum realm is where you can it's a realm of any kind of possibilities. It's just this amazing place and you can be a master manifester in that. So it's a really great manifestation energy that's coming through with this. It says, the Ouroboros is the all-encompassing glyph of the alchemical process. The hungry snake bends itself around you in a gesture of protection and guardianship, giving you the space and safety to participate in the work. So the work is kind of the energy and this big alchemical shift that we're working with at this moment in time when they're referencing that. Anything and everything can be offered into its mouth for transformation. Good, bad, blasphemous, or precious, the materials of our life transmute into gems along the great serpent's spine. I love that. So it's like along the way, our journey of life, we're kind of connecting to the gems of who we are and our great gifts and abilities and uniqueness, and the gem of some of the experiences that we go through, whether they're good, bad, terrible. So it says, along with your woes, the Ouroboros engulfs every pair of opposites. What is masculine becomes feminine. What is sky becomes earth. What is past becomes future. When this card appears, you've entered the quantum realm. Everything is a possibility. No one knows the limits of the Ouroboros. Just when you fell into thinking that your life was straightening out, the snake takes you once again into its gaping mouth for an entirely new trajectory. So it's kind of like we don't know where this is going. You might make big changes in direction in your life. It may be that you've received all sorts of gifts from cycles, and it's like, you've been, it's just this unknown. And the quantum realm is where time, like there is no time at the end of the day. So at some point, this may have even already happened in the quantum realm where you're being drawn to. And this synchronicity messages could actually be coming from your future self or from the future event or the future thing that it is that you're creating or the future direction, whatever this represents to you. So it's, really fascinating, but I think it's just going to take you on a whole new trajectory, which is going to be, fascinating with the Great Serpent. So that is your reading, and there are just like beautiful blessings and gems along the way. So that is your reading, Pisces. I'm curious to know how you experience these alchemy cards. So please leave a comment and be sure to watch your sun, moon and rising signs if you know where they are or what they are, because it gives you a full, complete picture of what's going on for you. And please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and take care. Okay, Taurus, so here are your cards. Okay, I've already picked the 4 cards because, as I said, I'm getting to know this deck. And so I pulled them earlier and then I was just sitting with them and just trying to get a sense of what they mean. And I'm really excited to be sharing this deck with you in this journey and got the message to be using this deck. But because it's still quite new, I'm going to just be bouncing back between the guidebook and my own intuition. And I also just really want you to bear with this reading, Taurus, because sometimes it might feel like it's going to places you think, I don't want to go there. But it has a really good outcome. And I feel like what's really happening here is a very big, deep soul healing that's coming in with this. So the alchemy cards, it is all around alchemy, around magic, around something shifting and changing form. It starts as something, there's a process, and then it shifts and changes into something else. And so it is not necessarily just about the destination, it's about the journey as well, which I know just sounds like a massive cliche, but and, there's things in the guidebook that explain this so much better than me, than what I'm doing right this minute. So I actually think that we will start with. So this reading is a 4-card reading. So we're starting reading from left to right. So Vinegar card is card number 1 and Sparks of Light is card number 4. And the premise is that each card represents a door and one door leads to the next, and it's part of the process. So I was kind of thinking about this reading as something that is more symbolic of the bigger energetic or spiritual or esoteric change, that is occurring at this moment in time with everybody, this big energetic shift in consciousness. So, but you can also use it if you're kind of feeling stuck or you don't know the next steps that you're moving into. So it says it will not work unless you trust your intuition. So the first card is the door of initiation. So it says this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So we have Vinegar as your first card. And vinegar is really interesting. I don't know if anybody of you use vinegar to clean, but for me it's like a cleaning agent. It can clean a whole heap of things up. But really it talks of something. So this is the first door you really need to kind of walk through to go down this process. But this is where something from the past emerges that is gathering your attention or wanting your attention and saying something needs to be looked at and potentially something needs to be cleaned up. There may have been some sense of acidity or something. There may have been some words. Maybe this is causing some kind of physical reaction as well, especially in the gut for you. But it kind of, there's something from the past that's returning here. So it says in the book, acidity, distillation, and memory. It says the tongue knows vinegar. Even the suggestion of receiving a few drops into the mouth reminds us of vinegar's sour and lip-puckering qualities. In alchemy, vinegar serves as an active agent of distillation, fermentation, and preservation. It is incredibly useful when applied in the right amounts and with intention. This said, it can be easily overused, overwhelming the situation at hand. When the vinegar card is present in a reading, it indicates a sour note permeates the laboratory. And they're talking about laboratory. They're kind of talking about what it is that you're working with here, the energies that you're working with. So there's some kind of sour note in terms of this thing that's occurred, or a relationship, or just how you're feeling about something at this moment in time. It says it's likely something from the past is showing up in the present and demanding our attention. It is in vinegar's nature to take over, to overwhelm. So be cautious with this material. A little goes a long way. As they say, it is productive to look at your past, but not to stare. Such is the complex energy of vinegar. So there is something from your past that is gathering your attention, wanting you to kind of look at it. And with this vinegar energy, maybe, like there was something that just didn't feel great. Maybe it's something that needs to be cleaned up, but it's saying not to spend too much time on this as well. Don't get too involved with it. But just this is like your initial starting point as well. So let's see, we're moving towards the second door, which is fog. This is the door of fortune. So bear with me on this one, because I was like, oh, that doesn't sound great as a door of fortune. But then there is actually a really lovely energy around this, because, this energy of this triple conjunction is very much an awakening. Things inside of you are awoken. I feel like what I'm getting with this fog energy, and it says this is the door of fortune. Okay, so this position is the door of fortune. I'll just explain the position first before I tell you what I'm getting. This is the door you will then be led into. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So the fog energy is where you can let something sleep, where you can put something to rest, quite literally, that thing from the past that you've come up, and where you can potentially might be needing some good night's sleep, some good rest. And sleep is all about regeneration, regenerating your body, your brain. You process a lot of things in your dreams in your sleep as well. So regenerating mind, body, and soul, just let something sleep for a while. Let something be lulled into this lovely energy of just taking a lot of pressure off, and it's okay to let this just be. So that's kind of what I'm getting with it. I'll read you what it says. Fog, if I can find it in here, says disorient. So you don't have to take all of this. It says disorientation, a funk, a lull. It doesn't sound like much of a fortune, but I'm like, well, how do we apply this to what we're talking about? It says, nothing is clear, not even the problem. It's hard to orientate oneself or to know where you're headed. Fog can be surprisingly pleasant as a counter to drama, though, and therefore it can lull us to sleep for long periods of time. With its cooling nature, fog is a natural balm for pain and trauma. Yet this state cannot sustain us, for we long to see the horizon and our surroundings. So it says there are two solutions. The first is heat. Think sweating, desire, confrontation, passion, creativity. If that's too edgy, the second and inevitable solution is time. As they say, the morning fog burns off by noon. The sun will be seen again. How much time you spend in the fog is yet to be determined. So I think it's really you need a little bit of time with something to let something just heal, is what I'm getting, that thing from the past that's coming through. And the fortune is to think, I don't need to. It feels like a temporary state in a way, because it's like almost like you're just allowing yourself to not even have to have a destination point at this stage. It's like I can just be in this lull. I can be in this state. I can be in this sense that there's no pressure. So, yeah, I get this sense that it just feels very soothing to me, is what I'm feeling with this, just to let something be for a while. And it doesn't have to awaken just yet. It's like a sleeping child that is sick, that needs to sleep, and just let it sleep it off until it's ready to wake up again and be energetic. So that's part of the gift of this, is the time that's being gifted to you. The fortune is the time that it takes, or, you might be more into the fire, the passion, but yeah, I feel it as more of this beautiful, soothing balm that's coming through with it, which is really nice. So door 3 is the door of resistance, and it's strangely something I don't think, what I'm getting with the fog is it's something that we don't necessarily give ourselves enough space for. We're always doing, achieving, and sometimes it's just nice to go, you know what, I'm just going to sit in this space. It's like this all-encompassing space at this moment in time. And I don't have to know exactly where I'm going. I just know that I need to rest, or I need to put something to rest. So, yeah, interesting. So the door of resistance, number 3, is darkening. This is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires, which is going back and addressing something from the past. So darkening quite literally is there is a lightening card where things are lightening and a darkening card where things get darker. Now, it's not necessarily bad either. I think that it will make sense why, when I get to it, why you might resist it, if I can actually get to the card here. So it says depth, readiness, churning. So it's about going into the deep, going into the depths, connecting deeply with this energy, deeply with the soul. And that's why it's kind of, it might be like, I just don't want to delve into that. I don't want to go into that. It's too deep. Or I just don't want to go into, be thrown into the depths of something at this moment in time. So that's almost like the fog is like it takes you a little bit out of the intensity. It just feels a little bit lighter and smoother, interestingly. So this is the resistance, going into the depths and being ready as well. And there's this churning energy. Maybe this is something that's been churning around inside of you, and it's like, I don't really know if I want to visit that. So it says in alchemy, darkness is an achievement. It indicates the material has been through a significant occurrence, sometimes called an initiatory experience, that has brought it into a state of readiness for the work. So it's almost like you don't even want to go through that initiation to be ready to do it. So even just doing that, it's like, do I want to go there or not? I don't know. The darkness prepares us. We've moved beyond the small talk and chit-chat of the upper world and descended into the psychic layers of the soul. We admit who we are fully and bravely, and thus open ourselves to the process of transformation. When this card appears, it is not necessary to delve into what brought you here, the initiation, likely by fire, that has caused the embers to char. Rather, it's time to heal, and darkness is the remedy. Closing your eyes is a voluntary expression of darkening. See, it's interesting. You go into the depths and it's time to heal, and darkness is the remedy. Closing your eyes, and then you're in this kind of sleepy, fog-like state. So you can see that that's actually ends up being a gift, a boon, to be able to do that. By practicing it daily, we drop into the depths and surrender. As the alchemist's eye adjusts, transformation begins. So it's a deeply transformational process that's occurring here on a deep soul level. So I think it's actually really beautiful, but I can see why some people just are like, I don't necessarily want to go there. But I always find it really fascinating. You really need to sit with these energies. So the last door number 4, or card number 4, is Sparks of Light. Okay, so you've gone through these kind of almost challenging passages of the darkening, the fog, and then in comes the sparks of light in the darkness that can show you the way. Those initial sparks of the sun is rising and the path is becoming clear. So this is where you're going to really see that vision, the visionary purpose and the reason why this was necessary. And it feels like a real aha moment. So it says the door of destination. This is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus, which is kind of interesting considering you're in the fog. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. So sparks of light, it's a very beautiful energy. It says hope, sensation, exhilaration. The Sparks of Light card arrives just in the nick of time, leaving a trail of celestial light to guide the way. Follow these flickers as if they are alchemical clues guiding you to an illuminated state. Oh, as that fell off. When this card appears, it's likely there has been a lull or void of direction, which is completely what's happened, which strangely enough, one of those things that sometimes when you're in a lull or you're in a space where you're lacking direction, which is that fog energy, that's your card of fortune. It may not feel like it at the time, but when you come back and go, I'm so glad I had that time, I am so glad I had that space. So it may be one of those things, it's more like the passage of time will show you what you really appreciate about that fog. So it says, when this, blah, 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 some may even say, so void of direction, some may even say the lights have been turned off. Quite literally, look, you're in the darkening stage. But in the deep void of darkness, a messenger of hope arrives, flickering and shimmering with enthusiasm. I love this. You might feel the sparks of light as a childlike giddiness, the presence of magic, a vision in a dream, or a simple readiness to wake up from a long slumber. This is the awakening that we're talking about. It's absolutely amazing. I love how this reading all flows into each other. Here is the dream, the slumber, allowing something time to heal, and then there's the awakening that's coming up here. Beautiful. Follow the physical body. Follow the tingling sensations of aliveness within, and you will not be led astray. Vitality, clarity, and inspiration are within your reach. You are alive. You are a vital being. Appreciate this moment. One spark leads to the next. So, wow. That's what I was saying, Taurus, is to stick with this reading, because it's like you go through this kind of quite nebulous journey and then you come out to the light in the end. And so this is it. It's about revisiting something from the past with this vinegar energy, something that had a sour energy around it that perhaps needs to be cleaned up, but it says don't dwell or linger too much in it. The boon or fortune is this fog energy that we've talked a lot about, which is a sleeping energy, time to heal some wounds and to actually feel a little bit like you're in a lull and a void or lacking direction. That can actually be a boon later on. And then we've got the darkening energy going into the depths of the soul. This may be a sense of going really, really deep with something, and this is where the path of resistance lies. It's like, I don't really want to go there. But then we've got these as a destination, the sparks of light, which is the sense of the fog is lifting, the darkness is, something is being awakened within, which is really beautiful. So that's your reading, Taurus. I love how it all flowed together. It was beautiful. And they're very different. And it takes a while to kind of work out how to read these. So I'm still working at it, but I'm curious to know how you experienced these cards and what it might mean for you. And so that's it. So make sure you watch your sun, moon and rising signs if you know where they are or what they are, because that will give you a full picture of what's going on for you. And please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and take care. Hello, Capricorn, and welcome. This is your reading. These are the cards that I've pulled out for you. I pulled them out earlier because I wanted to sit with them. You managed to get a lot of the planets, actually. There's a lot of cards in this deck, and it's not just all planetary bodies, but Saturn, your ruler, has turned up. So we've got Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, and synchronicity coming through. So this is the new deck that I've got to play with and I'm getting to know. And like I said, I'm still getting to know it, still working with it. But I've just got the message to share this with you guys. So very excited to share it with you. It feels like a really apt deck to use with this kind of reading, with what we're talking about, this big awakening that's coming in with this energy, the new consciousness hitting the earth. And so this deck's actually called Alchemy. So this is all about something changing and shifting and changing form. So something changes in alchemy from one form to the other, and it's a journey that we're going down. And so I kind of had the intention that this reading was about the bigger energetic or spiritual shifts that we were going through. And your reading is really about a beautiful spiritual awakening that is occurring here, and feeling like that there's this sense of really connecting to a source outside of yourself, or connecting to some new energies, some new consciousnesses that are coming in. So that's the reading. And so this particular, because I'm getting to know this deck, I'm going to bounce back a little bit between the guidebook and just my own intuition and what's going on here. But, we've got the planets here. So I wanted to say that this is a 4-card spread that I'm doing today. It's called the Doors of Wisdom. So we've got 4 cards who each card represents a door. Then the premise is that one door opens the next. So we're moving from left to right. So door 1 is Jupiter and door 4 is synchronicity. And so it is about this sense of, you can use this spread if you are stuck or you're not sure where you're going, or again, it's like this big energy shift that we're seeing happening on the planet and within you at this moment moment in time. So what sort of messages are you getting around it? And it says it will not work unless you trust your intuition. So that's the message from the book. So the first door is the door of initiation, which is Jupiter. And it says, this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So luckily, your first door is the planet of luck, expansion, good fortune, the Jupiter energy of, stepping into an expanded space of new possibilities. So it really is asking you to expand in general. And so I'm going to read to you what it says about Jupiter in the book because, it's interesting. It says, expansion, possibility, fortune. So it is about opening up to new possibilities, but also I think there's an ambition to this card as well with this Jupiter energy of opening up to this idea of fortune. So it's interesting. It says, Jupiter is often a welcome sight emerging from the darkness, shimmering with possibilities. It is the planet of growth. So expansion, success, and elevation. So this is the door that you're walking through. It's a pretty good one as a first door. When this card appears, the future is full and bright, perhaps even dazzling. And that is sometimes, it might not even feel like that, but that's almost about setting that intention and walking through that door or connecting to that energy that you can feel that way. That might be part of walking through this first door as well. Everyone wants to be around Jupiterian energy and to claim a little for themselves. So there's likely a magnetic feeling at play. So where are you being drawn towards? That's his Jupiter energy. Where are you getting these feelings of expanding and where are you being magnetic? Where are people being drawn to you as well? So pay attention to those areas. The work is to keep Jupiter's bigness in balance during the wave of expansion that's taking place. So what that means is like Jupiter does expand everything. It can bring in excess as well. So sometimes it's like you can dream big, but you want it to be a realistic dream. But this is why I think it's good that Saturn's here. And as you know, Saturn is your ruler. So, and next to Neptune as well, it's like Neptune sometimes you want this to be realistic. Like that's the thing, an attainable dream. So it says, we're talking about the shadow of Jupiter is most easily seen in celebrity culture, excess consumption, and messaging of never enough. You may begin comparing yourselves with others or assessing your value. Don't double judge yourself for this. Jupiter happens, we all do it. Instead, realign with the benevolent message in your heart. So this is the first door, realigning with the message in your heart. What truly needs expanding? So, and it says it's not likely your followers or your bank account. So that could be something that comes along with it if that's what you wanted. But I think the true message from your heart might be something, something different. So that's door one, stepping into the message of your heart, realigning with the benevolent message of your heart, what truly needs expanding in your life, challenging yourself to grow and step into that in door one. So door two is the door of fortune. This is Neptune. Okay, it says the door of fortune is the door you will then be led into. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So Neptune is the planet of mysticism, spirituality. It can be very esoteric. You might be learning, wanting to go down spiritual paths, learn more about sort of psychic gifts or healing arts, astrology, all sorts of things you might be wanting to go down and learn about. It doesn't have to necessarily be that. It can just be something that's more like a spiritual awakening. So if I can get to Neptune, I'll read what it means. So this is your fortune energy. It says, and it's interesting, it's next to Jupiter because Jupiter does represent that. Okay, this is the door you're walking from Jupiter into Neptune. Divinity, mysticism, seeking. Neptune is the mystic's planet. Its transcendent energy projects towards the heavens. When the Neptune card appears, the seeker archetype is activated and doorways to new dimensions open. So that's kind of interesting as well. Some of you might be getting all sorts of interesting downloads, cosmic messages. Things might be opening up for you that on a whole heap of different energetic levels that you kind of weren't, that weren't open before. So a voice whispers from beyond the earthly plane, perhaps calling you to a pilgrimage. So this could be a real calling or new spiritual practice Yeah, so I mean, this could be this could be something like doing yoga or meditating, or it could be something religious. This could be that as well. It's going to be different for all of you, so bear in mind this is a general reading. So where was I up to? New spiritual practice, or you may experience a meditative bliss beyond your wildest dreams. Beautiful. It's a beautiful space of peace with that. Divinity has arrived, whether you call it nirvana, enlightenment, or just good old serenity. Well, I'll take that any day. Amidst your spiritual awakening, remember that ultimately the work is not about you. The work is about what's bigger than you. Stay grounded in that reality and you're likely to avoid Neptune's pitfalls of narcissism and escapism. History shows us examples of spirituality turned madness, so keep your woo-woo tendencies in balance with a little selfless service. So I think it'll be fine because it's right next to Saturn, your ruler. So it's kind of interesting because Saturn is the third door, and that is the door of resistance. So this is kind of something that the reason it says the door of resistance, this is a new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. So Saturn is also the work, like putting in the work, putting in the commitment, working with the structures, putting in structures in place. And so it does require, you to do what is necessary, which it's interesting that it's kind of like a resistant energy. It says Saturn, structure, authority, consequences. And maybe it's like, maybe there's a part of you that is worried about the consequences of going down this journey. So this is the energy that you're resisting. And it says, and interestingly, because Saturn is your planet, maybe it's like you don't want to put in the work, or maybe it just feels like a burden, the idea of it. Maybe it's a sense of, let's just see. Saturn is known as the great ruler, the authoritative father, and the structuring force. Limitations, rules, logistics, and laws all fall under Saturn's claim, and they insist on our adherence. Saturn constricts, it corrects, it governs. The force of this planet is mind-bogglingly frustrating, especially for creative types, as it can feel like one limitation after another. Yet its ability to support is unmatched. Interesting. So it's like also stepping into, working with limitations might be something that you're resisting as well. So its support is unmatched. This is what I love about this. It says no creative project can come to be without the Saturnian qualities of commitment, endurance, and steadiness. The tick of the clock reminds us of this planet's steadfast presence, eternally measuring. It is no surprise it's associated with the metal lead and the qualities of density and weight. So it feels like a dense energy, a heavy energy. It is the Saturn rules time as well, so it may be a sense of really understanding you've got to make time for something or put the time and effort. And you can see that this is something that's going to potentially take time, like over a longer period of time. So that's something that might be coming in, like that you might be resisting. So it says to embrace Saturn is to embrace the foundation and become one's own central authority. Like that is not as dull or easy as it sounds. That's Saturn's secret. Okay. So that is the things that you might be resisting, stepping into this kind of very concrete world of structures, limitations, time, dedication, commitment. And also it's an empowering energy of being your own authority. So maybe it's like you're owning something to do with this spiritual journey and this expansion that's coming through for you, where your heart is taking you, or where the messages of expansion and growth that are coming in. So sometimes that we have resistance to that. So we have as the last card, which is card number 4, which is the door of destination. It says in terms of this door, this is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. And this is where it just feels synchronicity is little things come to you. The destination is a very synchronistic moment. You might run into someone at the right time. It can be very fated energy. It can feel quite lucky as well. So, and it can feel like there's higher energies at play. You know, the universe wants you to meet this person at this time, or wants you to get this message, or the universe wants you to get that job, or however it's working out. Synchronicity, it's like a little bit of magic of the universe at play here if you go down these paths and these doors, which is really interesting. So, and also like on a higher spiritual energy, it's saying source, destiny, the miraculous message. So there's like this, really deep divine message that you could be getting here as well. It says synchronicity is the presiding deity of alchemy. It arrives to remind us that we are not alone in our queries on our journey. What are we here to do? What pulls us forward? Unanswerable questions are timeless fuel for the flames of transformation. Mystics before us have uttered the same questions while tinkering around in the work that they're doing. Do not underestimate the brave act of your attention to the details of your daily life, to the ecology of our world. What you notice matters. You matter. When this card arrives, sacred messages abound. Everything is a living symbol, a synchronicity. Its guidance is sent directly from the alchemists who have come before you to encourage you along the way. See the deeper meaning of what is in front of you. In this very moment, the new eye opens. I love this. I love that. The new eye opens, seeing the deeper meaning of what's in front of you and these divine, miraculous messages coming to you, which is really exciting. So, yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful reading, Capricorn. I love your reading. So be interested to know how curious to know how you're experiencing this new deck. So please leave me a comment and, you know, how you're experiencing the energy or what you think it might be about. Like I said, you have to kind of sit with this energy for a while. Like I said, that final message that you're getting here with the synchronicity or synchronistic moment, it might not make sense till further down the track. So, but it's kind of like, yeah, that's the energy that's coming through around it. So make sure you watch your sun, moon and rising as well, if you know what they are, because that will give you a full picture, more complete picture of what's going on for you. And yeah, that's it, Capricorn. So please like, subscribe, leave a comment and take care. Hello, Virgo, and this is your reading. So these are the 4 cards I have pulled out for you. This is the beautiful new deck that I'm working with. It's an alchemy deck. It is about this concept of alchemy, that one thing is shifting and changing forms into another. And I just got the message to use it because I thought it was really apt for the sense of we're moving through these big energy shifts and changes and the things that are being awoken in us at this moment in time. So as I mentioned, it's still a very, very new deck. So I've already pulled the cards out because I wanted to sit with them and just kind of get a sense of what's going on. And I'm also going to, because of where I'm at with the deck, I'm going to bounce back and forth from the guidebook, because the guidebook's got some really great stuff in it as well. Like, it's really poignant the way it expresses itself. So I'll bounce back from the guidebook and my own intuition and kind of work with that. So this reading, kind of looking at it as the bigger picture energy in terms of a huge energetic shift and change of what's awakening at this moment in time. But it is a sense you could apply this to anything. Like, it is a general reading, so just take what's feeling right. And today we're going to do a reading called The Doors of Wisdom. It's a 4-card reading. So, and the premise is that each card is a door. So you can see that they're these beautiful hexagonal shapes. It's like a hive or like a honeycomb where everything kind of is interconnected and they all lean into each other, these cards, which is really lovely, which is beautiful. So the premise of this reading is each card represents a door and one door opens the next, and it's the process of this alchemical journey. And so it's really a good reading if you're a little bit stuck and you don't know how to take the next steps with something, or where you're just not sure where you're going, or again, like this big sense of something big is shifting for us energetically. So yes, this is where we'd like to start. And just as a general meaning and reading, you can see that you've got spring and autumn and fog. So there's a lot that's going on with the seasons and the rhythms of the world and rhythms of life that's going on with your reading. And what I get as a big theme that's coming through for you is this individualization, but it's almost like you need to find that individual within in order to come out and harvest and connect with others and share with others. So it's like this very individual journey of who you are at this moment in time. So that's what's coming through. So If we start, the first door, which is fog, so we're reading from left to right, the first door is the door of initiation, and it says, this is the first step to take. It must be done before everything else, even if you would rather avoid it. This card may remind you of a person, a situation, a memory, or a dream. So we've got this sense of the fog, and it's kind of going into like a bit of a situation where things are just not clear. You might not even know where it is that you're going or what this is, or it may be a bit of a lull that's coming in around it. But it's just a sense of kind of maybe getting some good sleep with the fog energy, just waiting and seeing, like staying in this space, because it can be a very healing space as well. There's not a lot of pressure at this moment, even though it might be, I want some clarity, I want to see where I'm going, but it really is asking you to go into this fog energy. And I'm going to read what it says in the book about it. I think that's the separation. I have marked them all because you can get lost in this book. It says disorientation, a funk, a lull. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is to be stepping into that's kind of the first door. When fog is present, nothing is clear, not even the problem. It's hard to orientate oneself or to know where you're headed. A distinctly damp mood blankets everything. Fog can be surprisingly pleasant, though, as a counter to drama, and therefore it can lull us to sleep for long periods of time. With its cooling nature, fog is a natural balm for pain and trauma. Yet this state cannot sustain us, for we long to see the horizon and our surroundings. There are two solutions. The first is heat. Think sweating, desire, confrontation, passion, creativity. And if that's too edgy, the second and inevitable solution is time. As they say, the morning fog burns off by noon. The sun will be seen again. How much time you spend in the fog is yet to be determined. So the first door is really asking you to go into that foggy area where it's kind of almost like you're immersed in this space where nothing is clear at this moment in time. And to just allow, if there's any sense of something is sleeping, allow some of these sleeping energies, or to just get some really good rejuvenating sleep, to let them heal and allow it to see it as like a healing balm, even though you'll probably get frustrated. So the next door is separation. The next door is separation, which is the door of fortune. This is the door you will then be led into. Here you will find a new fortune, interest, or boon. So what I'm getting with this separation energy is this is very much a sense of, with the fog, the fog lifts and we can suddenly see the path ahead. So you're suddenly seeing something very clearly where you need to redefine some boundaries. Maybe you're thinking of leaving a situation, because this is where I feel like you are kind of like owning your path. You're going, this is my path, this is me, this is my stuff, these are my things, and I need to kind of just be in my own space for a while. It's a very individual space with the separation. So I don't think it, like, quite literally it could be like, wanting to leave a job or leave a partnership, or it can be leaving a place you're living with the separation energy. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It can be more of like a sense of just energetically, like, not being so entangled in somebody else's drama or somebody else's energy, so that you're kind of creating your space within yourself so you can work on yourself. And that's kind of what I'm getting with the separation energy. That's actually a positive thing, because you're reclaiming things that kind of got caught up in other energies or other people or other things, even places. Sometimes it's like we live a lot in the past or past memories, and the separation energy is like detangling yourself from that as well. So I actually see it as a very positive thing, the separation energy. And we have the third door is the door of resistance. This is the new depth that will challenge your ego and your willingness to continue. This is ultimately why you may hesitate to take the step card 1 requires. So you might think, spring, like, why? Spring is about growth, new growth that's coming in, and why would you resist that? But yeah, maybe there is something around it with the spring energy of not wanting to see the growth. Or I'm going to read about spring, if I can find it. Blossoming, becoming, the horizon. So it's interesting because it's like you go into the fog not knowing what the horizon is, but maybe when that fog clears and you actually see what the horizon looks like and what you are becoming and what you are blossoming into, and this need for separation here that is part of this fortune and boon that you're stepping into, this positive energy, that can be something that you could understand that you might resist that, because it's like you might be becoming or going down some very new paths with that. So it says, when spring arrives, our eyes lift from the work. And when they're talking about the work, they're just talking about the energy you're working with. And we peer out the window. We realize Earth has been in its own transformational spin, readying itself for a new era of growth. Okay, so this is the resistance. Maybe you're not ready, you're not feeling ready for a new era of growth. It says, in a state of wonder, the alchemist sets aside the work of winter and opens the door, stepping into spring. When this card arrives, it indicates a blossoming, a coming into one's own. It's generation time. You may be dreaming up a business plan, humming a new melody, or flirting with a special someone. Spring is the season of the east, where the sun rises and lights the world. You do not have to work on anything during this phase. Let the energy of the season push through. You made it through winter and the bulbs burst on their own. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because the fog energy is almost like that will eventually lift, and the same with the spring energy. But I was getting, what was I getting for this with the spring energy? Let me see. So there's lots of things that could be coming through, but I get the sense with this winter, sometimes we get used to going without, or we get used to shutting ourselves off to new growth, shutting our heart, shutting ourselves off to new possibilities. And so that's where I feel like the resistance might be coming in with the spring of not really wanting to open the door to that. So Virgo, this brings us to the last door, door 4, the door of destination. This is autumn. This is a vision of the future possibility. It may be hard to relate to this card now, but eventually as you take the steps towards it, more will come into focus, which is good because you start off in the fog. For now, it remains elusive, waiting for you. And autumn is all about reaping the harvest. It's a culmination energy. So it really is rewards for hard work, being really generous, going, okay, I feel like I've arrived in this place and I've put in all this hard work, and it's time to, reap those rewards that are coming through. So let's see. And it's a sense of, interestingly enough, with autumn, it's like, and I'm willing to share, like I'm wanting to share. And this is why it's interesting, this separation energy, is that perhaps if you're detangling yourself from some other energies that that might have been kind of in some way drawing something from you or draining something from you, you're kind of giving back to yourself. You're giving energy back to yourself, so that when you're reaping this harvest of the autumn energy, this is when you've got more to give. So it says autumn, the culmination, the broad view, generosity. In alchemical terms, autumn is the denouement of the earth's grand narrative. It is the symbol of culmination, harvesting, and resolution. The story of our year finds closure, and we begin to look towards the horizons of the next one. It is likely this card will appear as an indicator of efforts culminating, of hard work paying off, of fruit hanging low for the taking. Gratitude and generosity are the spirit of the season, so share the wealth of your fortune. Looking back, you realize many hands and hearts have helped you along the way, which is really nice. Holding tight to your bounty won't do you any good. The alchemist shares their wisdom and wealth. They offer their boons back to the world as part of the ongoing cycle. Be like an autumnal tree, come to fruition and then release. So that's it's a really beautiful energy, and it's all about the cycles, and then a new cycle begins. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's this lovely fertile space that you've created in your world, and after this lovely harvest that comes through, which is really beautiful. So with this fog energy, if you're walking into this or you already feel like you're in it, don't worry if things don't seem necessarily clear at this moment in time. If anything, this is the space the universe wants you to sit with at this moment in time. And then you walk through the door into separation, which is being a little bit more discerning about your energy, about what's yours and what's something else's, and what you need to kind of create a little bit of structure around, perhaps a divide for the moment. And then it's a little bit of resistance about who you are blossoming and becoming into with the spring energy. But ultimately, we're seeing this sense of like coming back to yourself, this individual journey of discovery and blossoming into this beautiful energy, which is the autumn energy of harvesting and ripening. So it's a beautiful energy to come through, and this you can, this sort of reading makes sense a little bit further down the track, but this might be you. This might be your energetic journey. It might be something you're working with in this life or at this time, at this moment in time as well. So it could be a relationship, it could be career, it could be all sorts of things that you're working on here. But that's the kind of general bigger picture energy that's coming in with it. So Virgo, I'd be very curious to know how you experience these new deck and what you think it kind of might mean for you, or just really interested in what you think. And make sure you watch your sun, moon and rising signs if you know where they are, because that will give you the complete picture of what's going on for you. And please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. And that's it, Virgo. Please take care.